Good morning. It's 9 o'clock, so we're going to call this SHAC meeting to order. Happy March 1st. We're into March now. I wanted to first go over a few corrections to the agenda, or addendums, or we'll say corrections. Okay. Total Wellness Fair will not be able to be here today, so we will take them off the agenda. And also under Heritage Keepers, the time should say, should say 10 minutes, not 20 minutes. So we're gonna make that correction. They should be 10, it was just a little typo. All right, so we'll go ahead and start by taking our quorum or our attendance. Michelle Markert, I'm here. Mark Schauer.
Here.
Anne Marie Bellows, I don't think Anne Marie's here, no. Dwayne Hargis.
Here.
Leela's not here. Dr. Baggerman.
Here.
Dr. Woods.
Here.
Julie Dye. Here. Lisa McKenna.
Here.
Here. Aaron Pryor.
Here.
And George Lerma.
Here.
Okay, so we meet quorum, no problem. All right, so we're gonna start with reports. And there are people that will be announcing or presenting the presenters, so you don't have to listen to me the whole time.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's so great to see you all this morning. So for our first report, we are going to hear from Ms. Sonia Marines. She is from the American Heart Association.
Good morning. Okay, whoa, this is like magic over here. Trying to figure out how, you said there was a mouse somewhere. There it is. Okay. Good morning. So it is March 1st and Heart Month is over, but heart health is all year round. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick little summary so far of what the district has accomplished with our programs and some of the initiatives that we've been kind of working on and kind of go from there. Let's see. Okay. So we say this often, schools by themselves cannot and should not be expected to solve the nation's most serious problem and social problems. So here's where we hope to come in to support the district with different programs for both the elementary kids as well as the secondary kids as well as staff. So I want to talk a little bit about the program that we do for the Corpus Christi ISD staff. So it's a Go Red program, and it really it's all year round, but we really focus in February with some kind of action that all the staff members can take. Every month there are different kind of emails that go out with different information, everything from exercise to recipes to just small kind of actions that they can take to improve their health. We also really focus on the staff members taking their blood pressure, baby steps, so they can kind of see what's going on. So I can report that this year there was 47 campuses that took part in this program. Of those 47 campuses, there was 219 staff that supported this program as well, and 171 reported their blood pressure numbers. So again, we're really just trying to get them to take the step of going to the doctor. When was the last time you checked your blood pressure? And then starting to talk about what should those numbers look like and, proactively try to kind of help. In the past, we've actually supported staff members who have found their blood pressure was very dangerously high or that there were some problems. So just a reminder that their district cares about them, that, they need to fill the teapot before they fill all the other cups, something that we all need reminders of. The staff members are also given the opportunity to purchase a shirt, and then they can all wear it on the Go Red Day. This is a shirt from a couple years ago, but this year we had 219 staff members participate in this initiative and kind of have that kind of, big show of support for, the mission of fighting heart disease. So that was really awesome. This is just some of the impact so far for the schools that have participated in our program. A lot of schools in Corpus Christi ISD do our Kids Heart Challenge program or our American Heart Challenge program in February, but some do March, April, May, so there'll be even more to report at the end of the year. But so far, 15,000 families have received our Heart Healthy information. When a school participates with us, we provide social media posts, we provide articles, different emails that can go out that have, all different kinds of health information as well as information about the program. 29 schools are registered to participate. 4,800 employees were reached through that, because when a school participates, we really try to get all the teachers and the staff and everybody involved in what that message is so that they understand what the kids are doing. 1,250 students expected to take a Heart Healthy challenge, and we really try to hold them to it. We make them choose between something that's physical and mental, so they can choose between being more kind or exercising, and then we give them different kind of tips on how they can kind of fulfill that challenge or that promise. 900 students expected to learn about the life-saving skill of hands-only CPR and recognizing a stroke through Finn's mission. So Finn's mission is our big kind of push. We kind of gamify it, we make it fun for the kids, but through that Finn's mission, completing those 8 steps, they watch these really kind of fun videos that meets them where they are, but they do at the end learn what the warning signs of stroke are, and as well as kind of the steps of hands-only CPR. So this is a list of the schools that are set to participate this year. We're really proud to have, this list kind of grow every year. And then again, hands-only CPR is something that we're really focusing on this year through our programs. We really believe that if we can start getting this information to our students younger, as they get older, this will be something that they're not just introduced to at the high school level. We're really trying to empower them, as well as their parents, to understand it's 2 steps. You don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be a cardiologist to understand what it is. Even if, when I talk to kids, I say, even if you're at a Little League game and you stand up and you say, I know what to do. Somebody needs to call 911, somebody needs to push fast and hard, and somebody needs to, and I'm gonna sing the Baby Shark song, or whatever it is, the Staying Alive song. That's kind of our song, but their song is more like Baby Shark and stuff like that. So our goal is to educate 1.8 million families through this initiative, and we really believe these students are kind of going home, maybe they're asking their parents for help, or they're excited about it, and now their parents are starting to think, well, this is something I should know too. So that is kind of the power that something like this has, that we're so grateful that we're able to bring this to not only the district but to the community. Our goal is to get the mission, in front of the homes of all of our students. From there, they can choose to fight heart disease and stroke. Some will be able to support us through donations, and others will be able to support through learning hands-only CPR. Both will save lives. Both are equally important. Yes? Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Yes. So this is just a quick overview of what the program looks this year. The students absolutely keep us on our toes. So many of the schools, we're so lucky, participate with us every single year. So we have to keep it fun and exciting. So this year we have dragons that all represent some different messages. We really kind of aim to be whole students. So some of these focus on, sleep and being kind and being a leader. Other focus on, drinking water and exercising and things like that. But of course, we have to keep it fun for them. This is just a quick overview of the different educational resources that our program provides. There's everything from calming walls to stretching and breathing and SEL kind of components, as well as more kind of science and STEM, 3D, field trips through the heart and brain and lungs. STEM is something that we added this year. We also have added like a STEM career pathways library, where we show videos of students that are interviewing STEM professionals and say, okay, well, if I want to be a computer programmer, what do I have to do? Oh, you really have to focus on math, or you really have to focus on science. So really kind of starting that conversation with them early. Same thing with the SEL resources. We're really trying to make this a whole school initiative. It's not something that's just in the gym. We're born in the gym, we love the gym, but health is important in every class, in every room of the school is what we really believe. Of course, there's all kinds of different games and all kinds of things. We also provide a principal toolkit that is meant to be used all year round. So in here, there are things that are not just Kids Heart Challenge focused, but are more about health in general in all the different kinds of disciplines, social media, there's videos, there's articles, all kinds of things meant to be, for that community leader to be able to share with the community in whatever way they do that. We also are focusing on, of course, the tobacco and vaping, helping with the policy as well as supportive approach when it comes to cessation, the cardiac emergency response plan, making sure that we can support your district in any way you might need help with that. And then, of course, the last program is the program that we do with our secondary students. So that is American Heart Challenge. So it is the grown-up version of Kids Heart Challenge because we can't call, middle school kids because they would be very offended if we did that. So here we try to meet the kids where they are through their peers. Instead of this coming from the mouths of teachers, we find student leaders on campus that are trying to, leave it better than they found it and be able to come to their peers with this information. Same idea, social emotional learning, vaping and tobacco resources. The students are able to earn community service, but again, it's a peer-to-peer model. And that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for your support. Are there any questions? No? Yes?
One quick question.
Yes.
So on the involvement with the teachers and the staff at the schools, for one, great, thank you for doing that for them and also everything for the students. What are some of the barriers, do you think, for getting the staff involved, just because the numbers are low, right? Which is common.
Yeah.
And is there anything that we can do for the school district to kind of partner to promote?
I think that usually what happens is that there's just always so much going on. So being able to break the barriers so that they understand that this is happening and that this is the action that needs to be done by this certain time. Or, this is what, it's kind of like I hear often people kind of, oh, that's done. I wanted to do that, or, whatever it is. I think that often people still kind of see us as Jump Rope for Hard and a PE thing, which is great, and I take Jump Rope for Hard absolutely as a compliment, but I think often people think that it isn't something they have a role in or something that they can't get involved in. Often when I'm able to share with a leader, whether it's a principal or school district or, you guys, that all of the different resources that we have and how deep they go and how they kind of can help a parent liaison, or they can help a social worker, or how they can help a counselor or a second grade teacher, or so forth. People are always surprised. It's just getting all that information in a non-overwhelming way to the right people. I always like to say we have a buffet of things, but I don't want to overwhelm people, so I'm just kind of like, here it is when you need it. So I look forward to finding more ways to get that information to people in, a digestible way. With the employee health plan, what we do is we send an email and it comes from within the district every month. And we try to kind of minimize it because we know there's so much information coming in, and then they're all linked. So if there's something that you want to know more about, you can click on it and then it takes you to way more information. But yeah, I welcome more ways to kind of find how to get that to people, whether it's at the school level in like a staff meeting, or whether it's, in a district level. I think it's just so much information and so many other things going on. So trying to find a creative, effective way to get that to people is kind of why what we're trying to do is trying to get that directly to the people who need it.
Oh, please keep it up. I think it's important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned earlier a lot of this information gets sent out email. I know, administrative offices, teachers have emails. And I don't know about these others, but how are like cafeteria workers, janitorial staff, maintenance people, how are they given this information?
So what what we try to do is have like a campus champion
Okay.
so that they can print things out and perhaps put it up on, a break room or a lounge, or maybe even stand up in a staff meeting to just say, hey, this is coming up, just kind of a heads up. It just gets difficult. Sometimes we try to have the nurse do that, but you know how the nurse, sometimes their time is not their own and they get kind of, pulled in different directions. But that's the system that's in place so that we can try to get, identify somebody per campus to just, we know everybody's super busy, but to just print out a couple of things or even just to verbally say something at a staff meeting. That's what we have in place right now, but absolutely welcome any other ways that you might think that, can get the information to everybody, because, often it's the people who are not reading their emails, or maybe they're the ones that need the message the most, so.
And we have Deborah Barrera, who
Yes.
is our coordinator for employee benefits, who's right behind you, and she can come up and give a little more information about how we provide that information to our staff.
So with those employees who do not have access to their emails, we work directly with the directors of those departments. So we send the information to the director of food service, transportation, to site maintenance, and to those departments, we'll actually send something that they can post next to their time clocks where they punch in and out. So we have a contact on each of those departments so that at their level, they can participate in all the activities also.
Yes, thank you, Jen. Looks like magic. She just appeared. Any other questions? Thank you so much for your support.
I do have one question.
sir.
In the past, I had an experience with where I witnessed a student being resuscitated, and this was before COVID. So I had started at that point trying to coordinate getting district administrators trained for CPR. Is that something that y'all can assist with?
Yeah, we can. So so there is hands-only CPR, and then there's the actual certification. So the hands-only CPR, there's definitely science and facts out there that it is effective. It's not as, complete as being the certified and being able to give the breaths and the AED training. So the certification, that does carry a charge because of the dummy and all of those. And I am happy to report that we actually just met with the American Heart Association's advocacy team, who is in Austin. Actually, that is their number one thing right now, is to ask the state for funding to help school districts carry this out on a more, full level, and not have 10 dummies to train, 500 kids. So that is something that we are advocating for, in the Capitol right now, to try to get that funding going. It's been an ongoing process, so the advocacy team feels like they have a lot of support on both sides, and that it's something that should get pushed through. Now, the hands-only CPR, that is really just kind of a matter of, oh, that's it, I can do that. So that is more of an awareness thing. We have anytime CPR kits, which are kind of a small little blow-up kind of little dummy that's about this big. It's just like the head and the chest, with a video that they can watch. I'm happy to talk to, I can't certify anybody, but I'm happy to talk to people just to kind of get that awareness going. The thing about Finn's mission, which is that initiative that the kids do, is when we can kind of get the teachers and the staff and other people to also understand that this is what the kids are learning. It's a big step in just being able to kind of be aware. I think the biggest misinformation right now is that if something happens, if you're not a medical professional, you just don't do anything. And that's not the case. And there's all kinds of statistics out there that it saves a life to be able to do that. So I'm happy to work with anyone in order to kind of get some of that hands-only training at the school level a little bit more. And then in terms of the certification, we're really trying to get some money from the state so that we can get some more support on that end.
And I think Denise Jackson, who's our interim director for Student Health Services, joining us today, has some information to be able to share with our SHAC.
So Student Health Services, we offer staff members the ability to come and get trained for Heart Saver CPR, which is a K-12 that we teach for adult and child CPR, and that's a monthly thing that we invite all staff members to do, and pretty much every one of our classes is full. All of the police officers are being trained to do CPR, and all of the nursing staff is also trained in basic life support. So we are working to get as many people on campuses trained as we can.
Yes, that's awesome. Any other questions? Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, thank you so much. Next, we're going to have a presentation by our own Mike Schauer on opioids.
Do I click? Do I click to move it, or I click, right? Not you? Okay. Did I shut it off? You see how much I presented up here? Okay. Well, my presentation is not to do opiates, and that's it. That's as simple as it gets. But we had, the HIDA group they're a federally based agency. There's like 32 of them throughout the whole country. They're in every state, Alaska and Hawaii included. But they're the ones that connect local agencies with federal agencies, DEA, FBI. We belong to the Houston HIDA. So there are some really high potency meetings up there. And they have strategized to look at fentanyl poisoning and overdoses because it's such a prominence in our country. So they had a crime analyst put this slideshow together, and they came down and presented at the sheriff's office back in January. And based on that, they asked us to put out the message, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm visiting with as many school officials as I can, from not just CCISD, but everybody from an administrative level, to talk to them and try to get the message out. And if they ask us to come back to present, we will. And anything we can do to try to get ahead of spring break too. The whole thing is one pill can kill you if the fentanyl's in it. And they're making pills to look like any kind of pharmaceutical pill. They compress them. So it's a leading cause. And he went and cited where he got the information from as he built the PowerPoint. But fentanyl and overdoses, they're probably about 75% of the overdoses now that are coming through the illegal pills. Ingesting them is probably due to fentanyl. And it's a leading cause of death between people 18 to 45 years of age. And that's just incredible. And I don't think people realize how big fentanyl is, what a big issue it is. So if you look over the last 20 years, it's killed more people in all the world type of wars we've been involved with other countries. And that's just astounding if you start compounding year after year how many people are dying. Last year we lost over 107,000 people to overdose. And that doesn't include probably some people that weren't diagnosed or maybe autopsies weren't done on them. That's just what some of the powdered fentanyl looks like. So basically the fentanyl is coming in from China. They manufacture it there. It's a synthetic painkiller opiate. You know, it has a medical use, but only for medical practitioners or lab that knows how to use it. But they're selling it to Mexico, and there's two main cartels in Mexico that are delivering it or walking across the border from Mexico and the United States. The whole thing is it's profit-driven. So you could take $20,000 worth of fentanyl product and turn it into $6 or $7 million. 2 milligrams of fentanyl inside of a pill, pressed in a pill, can kill you. That's a fatal overdose. So when they start taking, and the size of a piece of fentanyl that fits in that pill can be the size of about a grain of salt, to be 2 milligrams. And that's how small of amounts. And that's when they were making these pills, whether they're making them in the United States or they're making them in Mexico and smuggling them across the border. They're not calculating, like they would in a lab, and they're having a lot of residue in their pill presses. And they have seen some pill presses here in this region, and I think DEA has them. But those pill presses can make thousands, tens of thousands of pills every single day. And all you need is a little speck of fentanyl in there to get you high. That shows a pill being broken apart. And I think this is the most important part of my presentation is just this slide. That one little speck of fentanyl inside that pill, and that pill could have almost anything in it, but they can make it look like hydrocodone or Xanax or anything that somebody might take. So they make the form of the pill to look like the prescription pill they want to emulate, and then they go ahead and start pressing it, and they build the fentanyl into it, and then they sell it on the street, or they make just a huge profit on it. The thing is, it's a long story, and this presentation can actually be about 45 minutes if you go back to Purdue Pharmaceuticals, what happened with all the painkillers back in the 90s to now, and the lawsuits and everything else. What basically happened in a very short synopsis is they built a bunch of folks within the United States that got addicted to opiates because they no longer had access to Oxycontin or hydrocodone products illegally. And it's cheaper to get at that. And fentanyl is very cheap. So you can get very high off of fentanyl. You don't need the heroin products in the pill. So you get just as high off the fentanyl. This just shows how powerful fentanyl is. Anywhere from 50 to 100 times more powerful than heroin. Carfentanil is about 100 times more powerful. So regular fentanyl, if you had that yellow brick of heroin, it would look like that compared to a truckload. That's how much fentanyl you need to equal the same amount of potency. It's extremely strong. And that just shows the dosage amount you can put into pills with fentanyl in them if you had to give a pill and sell it, and that's why the profit margin's so huge. So the cartels in Mexico don't kill. They don't care. They don't care who they're killing on this side of the border, and they don't care as long as they're making a profit, which they are. And you know how violent the cartels are, right, in Mexico. And this just shows, I'm not going to go through it, but it just shows the profit margins. If they can get 1 to 1.5 milligrams, which is just a tiny little dot of fentanyl in a pill, that's enough to get somebody very high. But 2 milligrams will kill you, and that shows what the profit margins is when you start divvying up and diluting it. That's what some of the pills and the regular pills versus synthetic pills look like, and to me they all look the same. And nobody could bring a bag of pills to a party or a beach party or pass it out somewhere to a friend and expect you to know the difference. So here's the message, especially ahead of spring break. The thing I can't get past, and the reason it's kind of become a passion for me when I went through the class, because we all knew about it, but here, I've got 4 kids. They're either CCISD graduates or they're in CCISD. But here, I watch them come out the chute. I take them to school, do science fair, do birthday parties. I'm with them all the time. They take one pill at a middle school, high school, college level. They take one pill from somebody, make that one decision because somebody gave them a pill out of a bag, and they're dead. And it's happened. It's documented. It's happened. And that's the message I think we need to get out. It has to go to our students that you're at risk. You might as well count fentanyl being in these pills because our Houston that deals with this all the time has identified fentanyl as being a big issue. It is here. It's not just on the East Coast. That's a pill press. So you can't tell me when they're putting the powder in there, mixing fentanyl, does that look clean to you? And that's why the contamination, they don't know what they're doing. All they know is they're selling a product and they're making money from it. And they can make it look like candy or whatever, they want it to make it look like because they can control the presses. So the trends, methamphetamines are still #1 in the Houston Hyde area, which we are part of. We handle the Falfurrias and Sarita checkpoints here in our region, which are 2 of the busiest checkpoints in the country. McAllen has its own Hyde group, so we're different from them, and they don't handle those checkpoints. And they've been seizing fentanyl, in powdered form. It can come in liquid form also. But in powdered form, it doesn't go through your skin, but if you ingest it or inhale it, you could end up in hospital really sick or you could die from it. So it's extremely, and if you have Narcan is a blocker, so the doctor would know. It does act as a block. So Narcan will work if you're on an overdose in that. But now there's other drugs they're selling mixed in with pills too. They're animal horse tranquilizers. And those things Narcan won't work on that. So that's his name. One of the things I didn't add on this slide, there's a young man named Blaine Patchett. So I gave this short speech on fentanyl to 2 of the boards I sit on. And on both boards, there were members on boards that had people locally that they were related to. One had a daughter die. She was from Kingsville. She died a few months ago. It takes a couple months to get the lab report back via the medical examiner. She died of fentanyl. She was self-medicating, had some depression issues. The other one had a brother who was on and off using heroin. He died about a year ago. It was due to fentanyl. Then I talked to my A&M class, I'm there. I'm right on target. And I had one of my students, she emailed me that same night saying she had graduated from Beaumont High School, and they had a superstar football player. He went to Rice. He had some injuries there, and he got a hydrocodone pill from a teammate to help him control the pain. He died, and it had fentanyl in it. He didn't know. He didn't know it was a counterfeit pill. So if you start Googling and look around the country, there's not just one of these, there's multiple ones. And I think the message we need to get out is to talk to our kids, because your middle school, I think your high school and your college kids, those are the kids at risk. I've talked to my class at A&M. I've talked to A&M administrator there. I've talked to Delmore, Cal Allen, and I'm going to reach out to a couple other ones yet that I have messages pending. But I'm going to try to reach them all before spring break. And once they have the message, it's up to them what they want to do with it. But I hope they push it out, you know. This isn't fake. And one of the ladies, you know, when she was talking about her daughter, she started crying because it was only a couple months ago. And she said, you know, she used a different word, but she said, this is real. It's not make-believe. Thank you. Any questions? Or do you ask that?
Oh, no, I was going to ask if y'all have any questions for Mr. Sauer. Julie?
Back in 2019, there was a opioid symposium held at Veterans, and I know like Dr. Hernandez had all of CCISD nurses and social workers attend, and it was a fantastic symposium. I had the head of the Addiction Society for Texas, a physician, and then another speaker was an actual addict who was in recovery, and the third speaker was a mother of a student who then passed away from his addiction. And it was an amazing presentation. I don't know, I know there was something, I think in December, that CCISD held on a Saturday. I don't know how well that was attended, but to get the message out with a presentation, I think would be super effective to these young people who, you know, like you said, one pill, that is so scary as a parent to think that, you know, have so much potential, and then one little pill could end.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me too, they're not at risk. If you're taking heroin, you know somebody's a heroin addict or opiate addict, you know they're always at risk of having something go wrong. But these people dying from the pills aren't at risk. You know, some of them, they're not at risk at all. They took a pill to get high at a party, or they took a pill for pain like this Blaine did, and he's dead. So I don't know, just trying to push the message out. I think like a symposium's a good idea. And I plan to meet with the health department, the newly established city health department. There's a doctor now in charge, Dr. Khan. Meet with her and Dante Gonzalez. He's also a different kind of doctor. But ask them if they wouldn't host a symposium. And maybe once the media gets hold of it, and that definitely wouldn't be before spring break. But what does it matter? I mean, the message should go out. If you're looking at taking a pill and you're on the beach or anywhere else, treat it as if it's got fentanyl in it, and you could potentially die from that.
So we did have our drug symposium in December. We were really trying to educate parents, reach parents. The majority of the students who attended were court-ordered to attend. And we did have similar speakers as what you had shared, but also had informational components, and had about 25 or 28 vendors who were also there with their services that they provide. And we are working currently with Gonzalez at the health department. Dr. Iescas is. Yesterday, I sat on the state SHAC meeting. You know, we have a T-SHAC that actually leads the state, so that we had a virtual meeting, and I attended that meeting yesterday, and the majority of the meeting was about opioid. And just messaging, you know, the schools have to get the message out, but also they know they've got to get it into the community, into all the homes, because we do have a tendency to target maybe those individuals who are known users, but really encouraging us to generalize the message more so that every student, even the student who isn't a normal user, understands the dangers of the one pill kills.
Yeah, on behalf of the county commissioners, they sent a team of us to go to Boston last April, and we visited them, and they're dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of opiate-type overdoses. It's hit the East Coast a lot differently than us, but it's here. And the thing is, fentanyl is different, but fentanyl is what's killing them up there, and it's going to have the same effect here. It's no different.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All All right, so that ends our reports section. So we have the consent items, which is approval of the October 5 minutes. Does everybody remember getting the minutes? Do we have to take a vote, Ms. Arizmendi, on that? Yes? Okay, just making sure. Okay, so I'm going to add it on here. Okay. All right, so do I need to do a name by name for this, or can we do a one, name by name? A one and done. Okay, good. Just checking. All right, just making sure. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to move to have the minutes approved.
Motion for approval.
Motion for approval from Mr. Hargis.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second from Julie Dye? All right, so all those in favor of approving the minutes from October, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Say nay. Okay, so the minutes are approved. Piece of cake. Are you ready? Okay. So our next are our action items and we will be voting, so that the members know, we'll be voting on these items today. So each one will have presentation, and at the end, we'll do all the votes. Okay? All right. Ms. Rios?
Okay, good morning, everyone. The first presenter that we have is Susie Thomas. She is with Naviance, and she will be presenting on Naviance elementary curriculum and secondary curriculum. Naviance is a college career readiness software, but there is also components for social emotional character traits that we wanted to present to you guys to share what is embedded in the software. So Susie, I'll go ahead and pass it to you.
All right, thank you so much and good morning. I know that our time is limited, so I'm going to share my screen. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So with our Naviance curriculum, we do have a K through 12 college career and life readiness framework. We have it separated really right now from K through 12 and K through 5 and 6 through 12. Within the scope and sequence, as outlined, I believe y'all may have some handouts. I wanted to point out to you that we do have these aligned to the ASCA standards, the Redefining Ready, and Core SEL. If we go to the bottom where we start out with kinder, we may have 2 to 3 lessons for the elementary. Those are definitely aligned to ASCA and Core SEL. We don't have those with the Redefining Ready at this moment. But again, as the students are going through the curriculum, they are working to at a age-appropriate ready outline based upon their themes. So whether that be with the SEL or the career knowledge, that will build upon itself year after year. So again, scrolling through, there may be some self-discovery, in the later part of the year, some success skills, and then bumping into the secondary. We do have some college knowledge and transition skills. So it's important that the students are transitioning from elementary to middle school to high school, and of course, high school to life beyond. So those lessons, there are for secondary about 17 lessons for every grade level. They are different. So the students are not repeating the same lessons year after year. And so this is just an outline of the scope and sequence. If I bounce over to Naviance for Elementary, I just wanted to give you an idea that it is gamified. You can see by the board that the student, when they log in, again, supporting the college career and life readiness for each student. It does prepare them for lifelong learning through literacy, numeracy, and thinking skills, being a responsible citizen with career development. And then, sorry, my keyboard is touchy. The elementary students will play a game called Up the Ladder. So it's interesting to know that if they are interested in a particular field or area, that they're not going to start right out at the top. They are going to work their way up the ladder and understand the different components, because as we know, different careers have different level of education. And so the students will be able to gain an understanding of what it takes to, when they play up the ladder. As the student logs their interest and develop resumes, it's an automatic resume. They will earn badges as they go. So again, more of a gamified. There is also an administrative overview. So it's easy to report out details, to take a look at which students have completed which different levels, have gained the different badges, and so on and so forth. There is an export feature that allows for the staff to export this data. And then, as we know, it's like building a house. It's going to, we take it step by step and work with the district in putting all of that together. So bouncing on to the secondary, 6 through 12, knowing that we have 6 different categories. We have the self-discovery, success skills, support network, career planning, college planning, and financial planning. Again, all great categories in which the student needs to gain knowledge about as they are moving through their middle school and high school career. So the students will access their details within Navient, and this is a simple student view where they have lessons listed on the side, and then they can get started on any lesson that is either guided to them or anyone that they choose to. Working through a lesson, the students may be prompted to answer some questions, give some critical thinking, details, outline a plan. So that will take shape as the students are working through that lesson. And then they may have to turn in that lesson. To complete that, they will turn in their work. Whereas on the staff side, the staff will be able to view that information, have further conversations. It can be personalized, individualized, or even if there is a trend that the staff may see, they can have some guided lessons for the entire grade level or class by class. So the students will also see their progress when they complete their lesson plans. And then this gives more or less the back to the scope and sequence. I'm going to pause there. I do have 2 videos if we want to go ahead and watch those videos.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me stop my share and then pull up the videos. And Ms. Rios, as far as timing, do you want me to put this in a little bit faster mode, or are we okay?
We have 8 minutes, Ms. Thomas. Ms. Thomas, we can't hear the videos.
Oh, okay. So sorry. Let me figure that one out. Let's see if. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure within Teams how to alter my sound. Okay, I'm in my sound, but I'm not sure. Let me double check my. No, I don't have any sound. I think it's within Teams.
Mr. Sandoval, is she able to share the link with you and then you play it from here? Okay. If she drops the link to the video in the chat, then she can continue and then we can go back when she's done and play it.
Okay, let me drop the link. The links should be there.
We can do it now. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's the one.
Ms. Thomas, is there any additional information to share? The video didn't open, and I don't know if we need to hear the video or if there's scripting on the screen for us to be able to read it.
I mean, I could play the video and there is some scripting. So if we want to go through that, that would be fine. I could reshare my screen again.
Yeah, if you could just talk us through it as it's playing.
Okay, yeah. I'm so
Thank you.
sorry for the technical difficulties.
She is.
Okay, so it's going to be based upon student strengths and interests. The students will be able to, of course, explore.
I found the setting also on her end.
They can learn
She would have to click
careers
share,
that
and she would have to
they may not be
turn that on
consistent.
on her end. Teams is not very forgiving.
Okay.
Going to strive to
Well, we can just watch the video, I guess, for now.
As mentioned, it's the gamified experience. Students will earning badges as they go.
Ms. Thomas, I don't know if you can hear me, Ms. Thomas, but your sound quality is not very good. Like I'm sorry, but you speaking is it's not very clear. There might be some competition with the speakers.
Okay.
Ms. Thomas? Hi, this is Omar from the IT department here. If you click on the share button on the top right, under that share panel, as they call it, there is an option to include your computer audio.
Okay, perfect.
And that should allow.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So I guess the question is, do we want to start all over?
It's about a 3 to 4 minute video.
Yes, I think that is what our committee needs so that they feel confident in what they're learning.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen, include, and so hold on, let me back it up and then.
Welcome everybody to the 2022 product showcase
Is that good?
of Naviance for Elementary.
Yes, ma'am.
Understanding various careers and their training requirements helps younger students build a pathway to a meaningful career based on their strengths and interests. Career exploration is critical in the early years to really help students broaden their understanding of the opportunities that exist for them. Students can learn about careers they might not even know existed, expanding their view of what they can achieve. Career exploration also helps schools and districts as they strive to address equity and access gaps. We are super excited to share Up the Ladder. Up the Ladder is intended for grades K through 5. Younger students get an introduction into career literacy and planning without overwhelming them with all sorts of data. Up the Ladder is a gamified, fun experience for students that includes resume building and note-taking, as well as earning badges as students go. Today we're going to be walking through the eyes of our student Isabella during our product showcase. Isabella is going to start a new game. And when we start a new game, we're going to get introduced to Kathy. This is an important aspect of Up the Ladder. This is for students who are still on the bridge of reading to learn, learning to read, and it's important to have this voice to speak out loud to students and guide them on their journey. Kathy will introduce the game of Up the Ladder, and as students play the game, they learn about work, jobs, what people do, skills people have, and the language that they use. Isabella is going to create her avatar. As soon as she creates her avatar, she'll be able to start the game. Isabella can navigate the ladder in 2 ways. We can explore the different pathways, clicking on them or hovering over the various parts of the wheel. Some of the activities are still grayed out in the wheel and become unlocked as students progress through the game. The game is structured so that students start as an intern and then get promoted as they complete activities, explore careers, moving from an intern to an associate, then to manager, then to boss. As you move around the game board and click any one of these clusters to learn about them, students can also explore career options based on their interest, age-appropriate assessments, or by selecting a random selection. Isabella is going to click on Random Cluster, and she'll immediately be matched with a random cluster that she can start watching videos on. Kids love the random aspect that this gives them to watch videos and relatively learn about clusters and what people do in it. As Isabella completes different activities needed to move up the ladder, she'll be promoted. After Isabella is promoted, she'll write a reflection piece on what career she's explored and what interests her. She'll also earn badges as she goes, providing positive feedback and reinforcement as she explores future career options. With Up the Ladder, students begin to explore career pathways from a young age within a gamified experience. They learn about various occupations so that they can begin to think about what they might like to do in the future. This helps increase career exposure and education from a young age, as well as helps prepare children for lifelong learning. For more information, visit powerschool.com to request.
All right, that is the elementary. Let me escape that. And then we do have a video for secondary. This video is actually pulled from one of the students' accounts, and it is based upon success, risk, and failure. So looking at the lesson, the video is embedded in the lesson.
So when we got to the Bay Area, we went to the Jelly Belly factory, and we met with Elise Benstein, who's a food scientist, who is the sweetest woman I've met. Oh, didn't even mean to make a pun there.
I work in R&D. We've developed the new flavors of jelly beans. You should see some of the ones. In the very beginning, when I started working here, they were really pretty scary. They would have ended up as belly flops for sure, but and a lot of our test candy does end up as belly flops, just because we rarely get it right the first time around. I mean, we were working on a pizza. We wanted a pizza Jelly Belly. And it was like, oh, we're going to make this really super tasty pizza. And we were throwing all kind of flavors in there and stuff. And then when we tasted it, it was like so hideous. And so then when we did the Harry Potter Bertie Bott's beans, it's like, oh, this would be perfect for vomit, for the vomit beans. So it was a mistake, but it ended up being a success. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh.
Are you kidding?
That's just terrible. Thank you.
When I go out and speak to students, I talk to them about races I've lost. I won a race in Sydney
everything went well, everything was perfect, it was a great day. What did I learn? that it's fun to have a great day. You learn so much more when things aren't easy, when things aren't fed to you, when things aren't perfect. I made a mistake in Barcelona by not checking my equipment enough, and my chair broke in the last lap. I always want to break away with 3 other guys, and in my head it was like, my life is going to change today. The last lap is the best thing I do. I'm on a breakaway with 2 other guys. They give 3 medals. It was just like, mathematically, this is working. And then the intangible happened, and the error that I made came back to kick me, and I lost, and it went from being the best day to the worst day, but I learned a huge lesson, and all of those things that came back to me, where I realized that whether I won or lost, maybe winning wouldn't have been the best thing for me. And we have that so ingrained in us that it's always about winning. Maybe it's always about losing. Maybe it's always about suffering and overcoming and having that courage that is the most important. But we don't value that as much as the win, which may in fact not be as valuable.
I think there are consequences on both ends. What are the consequences of me not moving? And so too often we ask ourselves about the consequences of living, but not of the consequences of dying. And to me, failure to move and failure to take risk is dying. How does success or greatness ever come without risking something? It doesn't. People that are safe, but they're not necessarily successful.
Some of it is just putting one foot ahead of the other. I took the risk, and I really showed how passionately I felt about wanting to be a writer. And I think all those things helped me get that big break. The more you don't take the risk, the more intimidating it is. So sometimes it's just good to ask yourself, did I take one risk today?
You don't want to just stay home with a seatbelt on, watching television and just sort of eating potato fries or something like that. There's more to life than that. And in many ways, if you don't take that risk, really, the risk is even greater because you'll never know what could have been.
Fear of failure is definitely always there.
Well, are you perfectly clear on the fact that you will? Are you cool with that? I mean, you know that you're going to fail repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, the only way that you're going to get good is if you fail. So, get to failing. Get that process going,
The most successful people in life are also the greatest failures in life. And although I've been lucky in comics, if you experience the failure and say, you know what, here's the bright side of it. I'm going to grow 10 times more from this misstep that I took. You can walk away from it with a huge smile and laugh about it.
So just don't be scared of failure.
Don't be afraid of failure. And never fear it, because there's always a lesson. If you're open to it, there's always a lesson at the end. Always.
All right. So those are the couple of videos. The secondary videos, more or less, come from our Road Trip Nation, and that is where these college graduates, about 4 college graduates, graduated from college back in the 2000s, and they looked at each other and they were like, now what? So they got into their RV, they headed across America, they made different stops, and they found these leaders, and they found what challenges they had to overcome, and the success in which to get to their position. So this secondary curriculum it ties to our Road Trip Nation, but pulling out different aspects of the different lessons in the curriculum and scope and sequence. So any questions?
Okay, so I'll expand a little bit on how it ties to CCISD with the counseling department. What we plan to do is to embed this curriculum, which there are character trait components to the overall software that I spoke of earlier. We plan to embed parts of the curriculum into our Year at a Glance next year for the guidance Tier 1 component that counselors will be presenting to the students.
And I just want to point out that the character traits that are embedded are part of state-required character traits that we teach through House Bill 18. So what Naviance has aligns with current law on what we should be teaching students about just overall good, positive character traits.
Yes, and these were just examples of the videos, based off of the topics that they have.
So at the elementary level, they gamified it. So they're going to be doing that gamified career ladder, up the ladder.
So up the ladder is the college and career readiness component of the curriculum. There is lessons that also have different questions based off of character traits of, relating to responsibility, respect, the character traits that we already have that we use in the
But are
district
they
currently.
going to also do the college?
Yes, ma'am.
They are going to do both?
Yes, ma'am.
But they would do it when the counselors go in for their counselor time?
Yes, ma'am.
In elementary, but in secondary, when would they be doing that?
So it would be the same that we spoke about in the previous meetings. Whenever each campus, they go in for tier 1, whether it be during counselor cafes, through a course or a class. Each campus is a little different based on, what the administration and the counselors come up with.
And I
as
could
far
tell-
as the designated times.
Right, and I can tell you, Ms. Marker, that with Naviance, every student will have, like at high school right now, it's at secondary campuses, every student currently has their own account for the CCMR component. We would open up, with y'all's approval, the character traits as well, and we assign lessons. So we build out like freshman year, what lessons they need to partake in. And counselors track that. And then sophomore year, so we help it build for the student by them completing these activities through their 4 years of high school.
Yes,
So I
ma'am.
knew about the CCMR because I know my students have done that. But I was like,
Yes.
we just add, so
So-
we're basically just adding in the SEL components.
So we
for
can
the
assign
secondary. That's what I
tasks
wanted to know.
to the students' accounts. So if we want to do in September a certain video, we can assign the students to complete the video and then get creative on, positive reinforcement for completion, that kind of a thing. So.
I do, and I just want to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly. This is kind of helping, guiding students from elementary and into secondary, kind of towards what they want to do career-wise, correctly? So is there an equal focus given to trades? I know that there's a lot, especially because most of us are college graduates and that's what we know, but is there an equal attention given to that student who might go down a path
Yes.
for the trades?
Yes. So like say construction or something
Right.
along that. So yes, since there's varied levels of construction, right, from design all the way to the actual trade of building it, that is available and part of the process of Naviance. Correct. And that's what they, and that's what they recognize, right? Just like in our current system in schools, we call it college, career, military readiness. They call it's the same thing, college, career, and life readiness through Naviance. So they recognize that not everybody's going to college, but that there is a job for them to have and helps them get there, helps them go through what it takes.
And it helps it helps the students to identify their strengths, their weakness, and their interest.
And we
and then it
from-
aligns with the program in a cluster.
Exactly. So
and
from whenever they take their career interest inventory, then counselors use that to help put students in the correct pathway of study. So the students, once they take it, will choose their top 3 careers that they are really interested in based on the results. And then the counselors use that when they're doing their advising for current classes potentially, but really next year and future classes.
Yeah, I just think tangentially that it's important to give trades and such the same sort of
Emphasis or priority.
emphasis
yeah.
and prestige that college has been given for historically. So I think that we need to
And,
have a real
and I
solid
think
focus
that
on that.
the thought process too is to start in elementary and have these conversations, give resources, give tools, give materials. That way they have a broad idea of what all the options are before secondary starts and all of the things that come with middle school and such. So.
Question for Mr.
I get all the high school stuff, but I don't get the elementary stuff. You know, you just said give them the opportunity and give them information. I don't know what a first, second, third grader can do. So I don't, the game seemed to me a little complicated. And it seemed like it was the timing to complete it. The impression was it was going to take a lot of time. So I don't know if the child is sitting there on their own, if there's someone helping them.
So younger grade
It
levels.
just seemed, I don't know. It just
Definitely.
seemed
So
weird
younger
for an
grade
elementary
levels
school.
will be guided.
Pardon?
And younger grade levels will be a guided lesson with the counselors guiding the process and guiding the information that is shared.
So a first, second, and third grader, let's say, is going to comprehend, again, I don't know what they can comprehend, but when you look at that game,
So normally at the younger
mean,
levels, they
it just-
comprehend what the profession is. So say police officers, right? So we go through, what does a police officer do? What is the role? You know, what do they look like? You know, whenever you see, generally, how are you identifying them as a police officer?
Okay.
So that, I mean, that's how we start in a younger age. We also start talking about and exhibiting a push toward college. We do, right? Because we call it college because I don't know that kids necessarily understand VOTEX, vocational training colleges.
Right.
So it's really just about a potential training after you get out of school, like what options are available.
Okay.
And so those are and we do that anyway through our social studies curriculum in schools, is when we start introducing different type of service industries, in our community.
so why have this if we're already introducing that? What is the benefit of this one, if we already have it?
Well, I'm going to let the counselor answer that question.
So the benefit of having this curriculum,
Well, she just said we're already introducing that anyway. What's the benefit of this program?
so this program gives information. This program gives an interactive platform for students to be able to dive in deeper to different topics that they might be interested in. It also, as I mentioned previously with the character traits tie-in, which is the purpose of this presentation, it also touches on what character traits will be necessary to be able to be successful in the things that they are interested in doing.
And this program, the cost to the district?
Do we have to pay for, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is there a cost?
Oh, yes, the district would have to purchase the program.
Do you know what that is? Offhand?
So we are looking at different companies. This is one of the companies that we're looking at, and I don't know that we've received a quote yet, but I know that we are searching.
So if we approve it, it's just to have it there available
Yes.
for us. It's not yet.
That is
We're going
correct.
to implement it.
Yes.
Right.
So it's not a
Because-
guarantee. We're just giving you
Yes,
the okay
to pursue.
here's another source that you can use. Okay.
Yes. We're just in budget season right now and kind of planning ahead. And so as we work with our vendors and our advisory committees meet and they identify some potential vendors, I mean, that's where we need to bring it forward.
And the
get feedback.
curriculum is K through 5, but we as a district can choose, depending on if you guys approve the character trait component of this software, we can choose which grade levels we want to implement and how we want to implement it.
Okay.
I hope that better
Oh,
answers
yes,
your
yeah.
question.
Thank you.
Just one quick comment on this, and I appreciate the early introduction because so many of our students are not exposed to things that we would like for them to be exposed to through their families, and so I think it's a good idea. Just expose the opportunities because those are formidable years. My question is, and I guess now I think maybe that's different if we're just looking at, for any of these that we put in, I would love for us to figure out what's 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, how are we going to measure the effectiveness of it? Because everything's a good idea, but which ones are we getting the bang for the buck out of? And so it's a very subjective and difficult thing to do, to measure the effectiveness of this, but whether it's in, hopefully we're monitoring how many kids are going to vocational school or successful. things
We
like
do
that.
actually, and we
So
work.
hopefully
Yes, we have another task force, if you will, with our business industry who wants to receive our students outside, and we partner with them to help train them while they're in high school so that they're ready to go in maybe as a journeyman or apprenticeship. And so it's through working with them that they're saying that, let's make sure we're starting early when it gives the kids an outlook of like aspiration, that there's a meaning and a purpose in life, right? Beyond just kind of the reading, math, writing, science, social studies. It really helps them look into the future for options that they may not see,
Yeah, it is.
in their
The
current
hard part
environment.
is, what needle will we look at to see if it worked or not, right? And that's, gosh, you mentioned it, maybe it's 15 years down the road, kind of thing. But anyway, I just encourage whatever program to see how
And we
can
do.
measure it.
I can assure you that monitoring of usage and output, and really just a completion of the cycles, right? So as we assign lessons or units, really the completion of that in its totality, because we know if the students never receive the information, then us monitoring the outcome of how effective it was, it's not going to tell us what we need to know. So at this point, like for our high schools, because we're just using the college career component right now, that's what we're looking at, is making sure they're completing each of the units assigned. And then we do have metrics that are reported for us by the state, but that we also have softer metrics that we follow in the district to see how are our students doing once they leave us.
Thank you.
And if you guys want to see Susie put up, this is one of the kindergarten lessons that ties to character traits. I'm asking the children, what are you good at? What do you want to do whenever you grow up? And then they draw and they reflect, and then the counselor would have all of their students' reflections to be able to look at, and then proceed with individual planning if they need to, or responsive services, or whatever the case is. So.
Hello. I just want a clarification. I love what you're saying, that we definitely need this information as soon as possible to start thinking about those things, and I think it's great that we're having this conversation. Just for my clarification, at the elementary level, this would be more counselor-led, that they would be there with them trying to talk through some of those things and take step by step. And then at the secondary level, maybe middle school or even high school, this would be more autonomous for the child to go in, and what we're going to be doing, what counselors will be doing, is seeing if they've checked off those boxes and if they've got it done. What happens if a student didn't? What kind of follow-up would happen?
So this goes back to the advisory committee for implementation purposes on elementary and secondary. This is something that we will be discussing with the advisory committee as far as what, how it's going to look at CCISD, when the counselors are going to be going in secondary, what lessons are going to be added to their account, and so forth. At the elementary, the counselors will be doing the guided lessons. At the upper grade levels, they will have accounts, so it could be some, little lessons that they do on their own, or, in a period of a classroom, or whatever the case may be. And then the counselor can go back and review the responses. So at this time, we still need to finalize, I guess, for next year, how that's going to look on the year at a glance. But just some options that we have.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you, Susie Thomas.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas, for being here today.
Thank you.
I'm still up.
Yes. The Sandy Hook Promise is next? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, again, good morning. My name is Courtney Rios. I am the coordinator for guidance and counseling. Today I'm going to present on the Sandy Hook Promise K-12 curriculum that we are looking at implementing next school year with the counseling department and social work team. And so Okay, so the story and leading out of love for the Sandy Hook Promise. Sandy Hook Promise is a national nonprofit organization that was founded by family members whose loved ones were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary in 2012. Based on Newtown, Connecticut, the intent is to honor all victims of gun violence by turning tragedy into a moment of transformation, by empowering youth to know the signs and uniting all people who value the protection of children. We can make meaningful actions in schools, homes, and communities to prevent gun violence and stop tragic loss of life. One of the co-founders and CEO of Sandy Hook Promise, it was a father of Daniel that was also killed in the elementary shooting. And then another co-founder and CEO of the foundation was a mother that also lost a child from the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting. Okay, so there are 3 parts to this curriculum. The program objectives, there's Start with Hello, there's Say Something, and then there's SAVE, Students Against Violence Everywhere Promise Group. The Start with Hello teaches children and youth how to minimize social isolation, empathize with others, and create a more inclusive and connected school culture. And this is a curriculum that covers grades K through 12. The Say Something is grades 4 through 12, and it trains students to look for warning signs and threats, especially on social media, of someone at risk of hurting themselves or someone else, and how to speak up to a trusted adult before a tragedy occurs. And then the final product is SAVE, Students Against Violence Everywhere Promise Group, encourages youth to take charge of keeping schools safe by teaching, modeling, and continually reinforcing the key messages of Start with Hello and Say Something. Each student-led SAVE Promise Club receives tools, and they're free, resources to plan events, activities, and projects that promote kindness, inclusiveness, and value of looking out for one another. And where the SAVE Promise Clubs come in is at middle school and at high school. Okay, so starting with Start with Hello. Grades 5 through K, the Start with Hello is a digital program that includes an interactive storybook, videos, activities, projects, lessons, and the curriculum comes with an educator guide with the lesson plans based on social emotional learning to help students build empathy, healthy relationships, and social awareness. And then in secondary, grades 6 through 12, Start with Hello, middle school and high school is an age-appropriate version of the award-winning program that teaches empathy to empower students to end social isolation. The curriculum includes training videos for students, an educator's guide, and a handbook to help schools build and reinforce a culture of inclusion. The Learning Center is a no-cost with on-demand training, videos, slides, and lesson plans, so this entire curriculum is free. And you should have had a login at the end to be able to log into the free curriculum to be able to view all of the great material that they have. Okay, so Say Something is grades 4 through 12, and it's a no-cost Say Something program that teaches middle school and high school students to recognize the warning signs of someone at risk for hurting themselves or someone at risk for hurting others, and how to say something and get a trusted adult involved to help with the situation. The Say Something program aligns with any school's existing SEL character trait curriculum, instruction, and programming. Students build essential SEL competencies, including how to empathize with others and seek help when needed, building those relationship skills and how to identify problems and analyze solutions, as well as solve problems in a responsible manner. So the 3 steps of Say Something is, first, we teach the children to recognize the signs, to act immediately and to take it seriously, and to say something. And it also can piggyback off of what Mr. Schauer presented earlier with substance use and the issues revolving around substance use, and the students that might be concerned about their friend and the level of use that their friend is partaking in. So it encompasses many different factors of children are concerned about a peer or a friend, and knowing what a trusted adult looks like, what a trusted adult does, how to go to a trusted adult and feel safe going to be able to get their friends, the help that they need. Okay, so Say Something Suicide Prevention Program has been added to the Say Something, and this suicide prevention curriculum customizes developmentally appropriate training modules for students, educators, and parents. Prevent Suicide is a research-based course that expands on the proven Say Something program, and it's the first of the kind to provide separate content for each students, educators, and parents. So this is a kind of a holistic training program. It teaches the warning signs and risk factors of suicide, provides expert guidance on what to do when you see someone at risk of harming themselves. It includes a 20-minute training video, worksheet, and resource guide to help stop suicide, and supported by sustainable anti-suicide campaigns and suicide awareness activities. Takeaway of the program includes warning signs, how to talk to peers, what to do to get help. Adults will walk away with the understanding of warning signs and risk factors, how to talk to young people, and how to form a community of support. So we look for signs, act immediately, and say something. Okay, and then the Promise Group, the Save Promise Group, it educates students. Students learn from each other by how to create an inclusive school culture. So it's a peer group, peer-ran group, empowering youth, engaging community, and encouraging hope. So club members are empowered with knowledge and skills necessary to provide service to their community and school. We engage with the school and the community, and we encourage youth leadership, encourages positive peer influences within the school and the community. Okay, so the Texas State Safety Center. Sandy Hook Promise is partnering with the Texas School Safety Center to bring Say Something, the proven violence prevention program, to middle schools and high schools in Texas. Say Something is a no-cost, easy-to-implement, and life-saving program that will help school personnel and help school-based law enforcement to teach students how to recognize warning signs of potential violence or self-harm and act immediately to intervene. The training takes 2.5 hours with a wide range of activities and resources to ensure training is integrated within the school culture. And the trainers train, there's no cost for the training. And then after the Say Something training, educators will develop an action plan to carry out the Say Something message, learn how to reinforce the Say Something 3-step process, and how to cultivate a culture for trusted adults. So this program is on the Texas State School Safety Center. It is being promoted across the state of Texas, and the Texas State has partnered with Sandy Hook Promise to start getting these curriculums into school districts throughout the state of Texas. And from what I've understood on the trainings that I've been on 3 this year to get to know more about it. There are school districts that are implementing this curriculum with high success rates. So Burnett ISD being one of them, Dallas ISD is now implementing this across the district as well. So just a couple of examples. Okay, so how does this look in CCISD? Okay, grades K through 12, we start with Hello curriculum, implemented in Tier 1, all students guidance curriculum that we've spoke about before. They're in different capacities. Elementary is a little bit more streamlined than the secondary at this point. Classroom guidance, power hour, advisory teams, advisory times, and counselor cafes. Grade 4 through 12, Say Something curriculum is implemented in the same way through Tier 1 guidance curriculum. And then the Save Promise clubs are at middle school and high school campuses, and campus counselors and social workers will collaborate with the students to build these groups. All counselors and social workers will be trained during summer 2023 on how to implement the curriculum, and then there was a learning portal access that you could create your own account to view the curriculum. Okay. So any questions on the Sandy Hook Promise?
Mark?
I have a question. So what are we telling kids now, like middle school or high school, if they want to report a threat or concern, how do they get it to administrators if they want to be anonymous?
So we have an anonymous reporting system where they could use their phone or go onto the website, and they could either choose to remain anonymous or they could self-disclose who they are. And it's a system, just one of the systems that we have. Ms. Delbert Bernal is actually here, who oversees it, if she wants to step up to the mic and share a little bit of information.
Good morning. I'm Dylan Bernal. I'm the Director of Student Support Services. And so this year we have a new platform. It's called Speak Up. And what we found, and that's why we started researching on different ways that kids could approach an adult, or a lot of the students that that maybe were using the system weren't giving us enough information, or they might have stated, this has been going on for a while. They hadn't reported it. So we wanted to make sure that there was some type of curriculum for all students, so that the teachers, they know what to look for in students, behaviors, but then also for our students to know that these are different ways. Speak Up is one way that they can go in anonymously to do that. Some of them might have a trusted adult that they want to go and speak to. So we just wanted to teach them all these different ways. You're not alone. And we have very different avenues that they could go in and report things, but not just about themselves, but about others. If they're seeing bullying going on within the building, they're seeing drug use going on within the building, there are ways to get it, to an adult so that we can follow up. And so we went through the training together, and it was very, very powerful, very impactful, especially the one with the groups, because the kids take the initiative. They get that training, and they take control of the difference in what's happening in their campuses. So it was a really good training. But like she said, there's a lot of districts within the state of Texas now that have implemented the training. And I think just that awareness piece is definitely going to help our students to speak up.
And there's also the Start with Hello. It also is connected with bullying prevention as well. So, and teaching the kids to include, and I don't know if you guys watched one of the videos with the recess kids and how one was, being left out. And so teaching the kids at a young age how to include everyone and be kind to everyone and be respectful and, take responsibility and also to look out for others. So it was amazing little videos.
Okay, I have a question, well, a couple. Well, first, I do want to say, as a mental health professional and as a parent, I looked at these videos really closely because this is heavy content. And starting at 4th grade, what are my kids going to see? And I did find them to be really developmentally appropriate across ages. And I'm also someone who's part of the threat assessment teams in our schools, and I'm doing a lot of threat assessments. So I know that this is something that is necessary. I did have a question regarding the Texas State Safety Center partnership. So I know in my profession, we had a full day training that was required as part of my job. Mm-hmm. This sounds like a different training, and it's 2.5 hours. Are we requiring all educators, all teachers to participate in that training?
So there is the trainer of trainers component. Mm-hmm. That the employees, if Ms. Bernal, me, Dr. Yescas, we sit on the trainer of trainers or, the counseling department, then they can train out the staff using the materials, the free materials that are provided after you go through that
So it
training.
would not necessarily be a 2.5-hour training that all staff would.
Not for all staff.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it could be if that's what we chose, to provide, but we can tailor it based off of, what materials we use in order to train the staff, so.
And then I also wanted to ask, I know you guys just talked about our own reporting system. The Say Something does have an anonymous reporting system via an app. Are we interested in using that, or we're gonna use our own reporting system?
So they do have, the Sandy Hook Promise does provide a reporting system app, but we are already using what Ms. Bernal had mentioned earlier.
Oh, so that is what we're using?
Speak up.
The Speak Up.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just a real quick question. You mentioned the success from Burnett, Dallas.
Mhm.
What does that look like? What are we hoping to get out of this? And what have they seen as being the benefit already?
So I can speak on what we are hoping to get out of this. Whenever they mentioned those two districts, they didn't go into detail about their data. For what CCISD is hoping to get out of this is reduced discipline, reduced removals, reduced bullying, reduced substance use, reduced suicidal ideation, self-harming reports, threat of harm to others, threat assessments. We want to look at all of that data and determine, and in hopes that those things that all of us sitting here are concerned about our students for will decline based off of the education that we're providing through these curriculums, through counselors and the mental health professionals on the campuses. Attendance, grades, we want those things to go up. We want the kids to be coming to school, learning in a good mindset, in a good headspace, in order to do great things with their lives. So,
I agree. I think this is beautiful, by the way.
thank you.
My one question was, it was a couple slides back, you had said that like the first tier and the other, and it would be doing like advisory. So we have advisory at my school. Are you saying that teachers would be educated on this, and then during that advisory time, we would be educating the students on this? I'm asking from my teacher hat right now. Because we've done other things that we've been asked to do, and then we gotta, we had a
Right.
police officer thing we did with seniors, and I learned a lot. So about respecting police. That was like an example, different. But what
Right.
I'm asking is, this is heavy, and I had to deal with this last year with a student who messaged me on Canvas about a friend, and I check my messages at night because I have kids that ask me about homework, and I immediately had to get a hold of a counselor. They got a hold of parents, and everything was okay. But I was like grateful I checked my messages. Otherwise, what could have happened, right? And so I've always had that in my head. I'm a message checker. That's me. But they trusted me enough to tell me, like, I'm really worried about my friend. He's saying he's going to do all these things.
Right. And so what we would do is work with counselors and school leadership. So whenever we had said we were still researching and bringing a couple of options to use, this was another option. And so designing, we know that teachers don't necessarily come with this background and expertise.
Correct.
And our intention is to lean on those folks who do have the background and expertise. So what would that look like? That could look like Canvas assignments that are pre-recorded, and during enrichment, students get on and participate and complete the assignment. And what we also learned, and working closely with Dr. Wilson specifically for high school, was changing up the modality in which we delivered the lessons, and not always the same way. So another time could be a pre-recorded message from the school nurse, the school counselor, the school social worker, and we asked the teacher to push play during that time and view it on whatever projection system that they used in their classroom. So all that being said, we're not putting all of this expectation that teachers deliver the information, but we do need teachers to have knowledge of the information, so them viewing it as well just become knowledgeable, but really to be the conduit to students, to push the information out. So we are looking at just different modalities, so it's not always the same way, because there are, enrichment time is a protected time as well, right? So we want to make sure students are getting their academic needs and tutorial needs met, but whenever we can use it in working with school leadership to push out a lesson of the month, or for that bi-week, that is an option that we've discussed.
Because we do suicide prevention with Safe Schools when we do all the videos. And so I take my quizzes and, 100, because I pay attention. No, I have to be proud of myself. I got hundreds on those. So, but what I'm saying is if you want now teachers to do another training about it for this program, they're going to say, well, didn't I just watch videos on this, like for
Right.
Safe
And
Schools?
this is
And so
really
that's
for
why I'm asking as a teacher, like.
Yeah, and this is this information is really to target students, but just that listening of the adult so that you are aware of maybe the new pop words that students are using, for
Right.
certain slang and terminology.
Oh, I'm aware.
So there's a component.
So it's
But yeah.
really just so that you're aware, of
okay.
maybe what even the lessons are being taught and a way to reinforce it. Or a student wants to come to you afterwards and have a conversation. You've heard a little bit about what they heard and then can bring it back to the counselor or school social worker.
And there's a component of teaching teachers how to what it looks like to be a trusted adult. So that component might be important, and not just all of the suicide prevention awareness that we're already getting, but how to be a trusted adult, which then would shorten down the training.
Which is part of capturing kids' hearts,
Right.
which is why we capture their hearts so
Right.
that we can be the trusted adult that
Right.
they, if
Building the
needed,
relationships, yeah.
so we can get them
And
the help
then
they
the
need.
Save Promise clubs are student-led, right? So it builds this culture to where, the students are getting on the little TVs and doing presentations, and peer-to-peer, research shows that is more effective than the adult telling the students different things as well. So it's really encompassing that peer-led groups on the middle school and high school campuses to be able to promote this product and this program. So, any other questions?
I did want to ask about the SAVE clubs,
Okay.
actually. You said that they're student-led, so there's not going to be a certified teacher or
So-
a sponsor for those clubs?
So they're student-led with a counselor and a social worker being part of those groups.
Okay,
Yes.
in the secondary level, with my previous knowledge, some of those clubs at that secondary level are stipend. Would this be a stipend club for those counselors?
We'd have to, so there's, as you're aware, there's a process for even having clubs approved.
Correct.
So, if this is a club that gets approved, those are part of the conversations we have. So, I don't feel comfortable at this time of
Sure.
even answering because we don't know enough yet. That's
I understand.
information. Like, once we decide which curriculum and as we start the next school year and we give you an overview of what our comprehensive counseling program looks like, we can include those aspects.
Fantastic.
But-
Okay, that's
yeah.
great. Will those clubs be connected in any way to Sandy Hook Promise Foundation?
So again, I don't know that I can speak on that at this point because right now we're presenting the curriculum to get approved, and then those are options. I know that the program allows, as well as community partnerships and those kinds of things. So there's a lot of encompassing parts to this curriculum. I would be happy to come back and share with you guys if it does get approved, what our year at a glance looks like for the next school year as far as the comprehensive guidance counseling program and the other
I know I'm asking a
components.
lot of the nuts and bolts questions, but that's kind of where my brain is a little bit, how this is going to be implemented and what it's connected to. I would certainly like to know that information.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I suggest you bring the year at a glance, because we've approved many things, but we don't always know how it ends up looking. And being that teacher again, like, what does it look like? Because I was thinking, well, if we do this, and how long is that going to take? And then if they do this, how long is that going to take? And if it's something that's year-round, like, because you're not going to just have a club for a month, you're going to probably
Right.
have it longer.
And
And so
that-
how's it all going to look? I would love to see it laid out.
And I would be happy to bring that to you before the school year starts.
And SHAC is required to, make sure that the school district is offering comprehensive plans in health and in drug awareness. And so that will be our first meeting coming off of the summer, is to present what each of our comprehensive programs will look like from a year glance view.
Yes.
So that y'all are aware that we're covering, that you feel confident that, the school district is covering the topics, not only that are required by law, but that our students need to know. And that we're offering those opportunities for parents to know and where they can go to get more information.
Yeah. Well, we will have one, and we will present that. So, and we can also touch on what it looks like at Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, all of the things that we've talked about over this year, and how it's going to build all together. So, all right. Thank you for your time.
All right. We'll be hearing from the Council on Drug and Alcohol. We have someone presenting the presenter.
Hello again. So I would like to present Mr. Armando Trevino. He is from the Council on Alcohol and Drugs, and he has an opioid presentation to present to you all today. Thank you. Yes, sir. The clicker, or you can just do the down button. The clicker should just be this arrow right here.
That arrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be right over here.
All right, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. We are the Life Skills Program, part of the Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse Coastal Bend. My name is Armando Trevino, and I've been with the agency almost 18 years. We are here to address some of the substance abuse issues that CCISD is asking us to provide some services for, and is pertaining to opioid abuse prevention or prescription use as well with opioids. Let me give you a little bit about who we are. The Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse Coastal Bend is a nonprofit organization serving the greater Coastal Bend since 1957. Out of those years, I've been here 20 years, and we definitely have had a good partnership with CCISD for at least those 20 years. So I know that we've had MOUs before providing other services, and we are pretty much really experts in the substance abuse field and prevention. Our program provides youth with skills needed to become healthy individuals. The goal is to preclude the onset of the use of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs by youth, and to foster the development of social and physical environments that promote healthy and drug-free lifestyles. We also address other health disparities, including substance abuse issues. Opioid prevention presentation. We were asked probably in the beginning of the school year when we were having the issues of opioid overdose, including fentanyl and heroin and prescription drugs. So we kind of we were asked at the beginning of the school year if we could come up with a presentation for high school students in order to address the use and misuse. And we catered it to meet the request of the goal to reduce opioid use misuse among high school students from 9th to 12th grade. The Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse Coastal Bend Life Skills Team researched opioid prevention resources and utilized two major components that are experts in the subject matter to form a 45-minute presentation to be conducted in health or PE. Now, what we have done is, this is not a curriculum, it's a presentation. So a lot of the information that's coming is new information like in the last 2 years. So you're getting the overdose information, the statistics, because even some of the statistics that Mark provided are different than what we have, because he utilizes CDC. And these are the sites that we use as their experts on the substance abuse matters. So we have NIDA's PeerX, Texas Knowledge and Skills for Health Education, which is your TEAS. And then you have NIDA, which is the National Institute on Drug Abuse, created this initiative to discourage abuse about prescription drugs among youth. PeerX is an educational initiative to discourage abuse of prescription drugs among teens, a component of the NIDA for Teens program. PeerX provides science-based information about prescription drug abuse prevention. Now, since we're not using a curriculum, we literally had to create a presentation to meet the needs of CCISD. We have utilized it just to kind of disclose, in the bottom of every slide that I discuss, you will find the sites where we found this information and combined it together. They are the experts, they are the researchers, what's been going on in the last 2 or 3 years. And we are experts at presenting it. We're a certified prevention specialist. We go through a lot of training. The employees that are presenting, Lisa would be the presenter. in the high school components. In addition, the opioid abuse prevention presentation was adapted to include the TEKS for CCISD. That means you guys have to address some substance abuse issues. So we wanted to make sure that they get addressed, and our presentation that was created as a PowerPoint from NIDA, these are the sections that they address. So these sections describe skills pertaining to alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use, misuse, and physiological effects. Now, in the TEKS, it doesn't specifically say opioids, because it's fairly new, so it doesn't go into the details, but it does discuss other drugs, and this falls under other drugs. Okay. So in the presentation that we created as part of NIDA, where they created it, and we're just reusing it and added some information to that's more local and more CCI and more Corpus Christi Independent School District. So the skills that will be taught or presented are definition of opioids. We're going to discuss what opioids are, how they affect you, the misuse associated with opioids, understanding labels. The TEKS has asked a lot about understanding the labels from prescription drugs. Who should use them? Who shouldn't? Should it, if it belongs to your parents, should you use it? Parent give it to you? That type of information. Understanding the difference between misuse and abuse, adverse health effects of misuse and abuse, signs of abuse, safe ways to dispose of unused medications or medicines, and tips for making healthy choices, and where to go for help. So all these components are addressed through the PowerPoint slides that we'll be teaching in the high school level, 9th through 12th grade. Again, this will only be through PA or health, depending on how the school district decides they want to offer it. We felt that it doesn't get in the way of providing education, your basic like math, English, or things like that. And health is really PEs, where you discuss a lot of the health-related issues through this division. Now, the last component, where to go for help, we're going to provide some information where it's going to send out, anytime you do any presentations in any of the schools, there's going to be discussion. There's going to be, students are going to discuss, oh, my friend or someone. So we have at the end of the slides where they can go for some help. Definitely, we're discussing closely with the coaches and the counselors in case if any of these issues pop up for referral sources. We also have our own component in our agency, another division, that we provide treatment for youth who are using alcohol and drugs or addiction, and that's another referral source that's an immediate in case if anything comes up like that. Okay, why is this information important? Well, Mark provided a lot of that information earlier for us. Actually, that was like a good segment to what, it's just really good. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, an estimated 91,700 people in the U.S. died from an overdose of a prescription pain medication in 2020, with alarming increases among all ages. While there was a decrease in use, there is a significant increase in death. They're saying is that, yes, there's a decrease in use, but the people who are using, there's a higher number of people dying from using. Okay? The risk of overdose and death increase if combined with alcohol or other medications that also slow breathing. I know that Mark discussed a lot of discussions about spring break and things like that. Well, they're not just using a fentanyl pill, they're also drinking, using alcohol, other types of drugs, so it makes it even a higher risk for them to overdose. Again, the bottom is where we receive the information. Can you overdose or die if you use prescription opioids? Yes. That's been a big discussion. In fact, taking just one large dose could cause the body to stop breathing. Deaths from overdose prescription drug abuse have been increasing since the 1990s, largely due to the increase in misuse of prescription opioid pain relievers. And then even just one tablet is enough to overdose. In the high school presentation, just to let you be aware, we're not going to go into a lot of the details of the fentanyl and those kinds of, it's giving a lot of information pertaining to the drug itself. Our goal is to provide the information so they can use the tools and the skills in order to make decisions to prevent the use. We're not giving you, hey, this is what it is, because sometimes in our previous years, when doing this many years in our research and our certifications, we don't want to provide too much information on the drugs themselves. We want to give them the tools to be successful, to say, hey, this is what can happen to you if you use this. Whether it's prescription opioids, vaping, or any alcohol, the tools will be very similar, but we also will discuss the dangers of using someone else's medications and your parents or friends that is prescribed to them as well. Thank you for your time. Also, to be aware, we are nonprofits, so all our services are free. We've been working with CCISD for a very long time. We already have a standing MOU with them for other components that we've been approved, but this is an opioid presentation, so we wanted to make sure we came and that you be aware of the information that we can provide and continue to be great partners with Corpus Christi Independent School District. We're very proud to be a partner with CCISD.
One thing I didn't mention from HIDA, they also said they're using xylazine, which is like a horse tranquilizer. They're putting
Yes.
that. I don't know how they could go from a Clydesdale to a person, but they're doing that now too. So just pointing it out.
Any questions? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Say I know, safe schools, right? Yes, safe schools. So my name is Dr. Maria Iescas, and I'm the coordinator for mental health services here at CCISD, and I'm here to present on our safe schools videos. So the topics of the videos that will be discussed today are drugs, bullying, and digital citizenship. So what are safe schools? So Corpus Christi ISD is using vector training, K-12 edition training right now to offer workplace training courses online for our teachers and our staff. So many of us who are staff are very familiar with these videos that we have completed. There's also a training component for students as well. And this training takes place in the form of short videos with a simple assessment at the end of each video, similar to an assessment we take, but these are like 4 to 5 questions that we're looking at the end. The assessments can be taken as a class or they can be taken individually. So vector training, K-12 students prepare students for the realities of life today with expert-authored online student safety and these wellness courses. The powerful, engaging courses for students covers the essential safety, wellness, and social-emotional learning topics you need to educate students to positively impact your school culture. And they're perfect for primary prevention training and also remediation. Okay, so what are these videos? We've seen these videos before. So the videos for our students are different. So they're engaging videos. There's peer presenters. It's kids their own age who are actually hosting and talking on these videos. There's illustrations, animations, live acted scenarios to help students visualize what they're learning. It's relevant content. The courses are relatable to our children. And the focus on the impact of the topic can have on the students or the peer that they care about. It's age appropriate. Courses are customized for grades 6 through 8th and also 9 through 12th and feature unique age appropriate content for each age group. Peer presenters, as they mentioned before, there's diverse peer presenters here. So all students, no matter who you are, you can connect with the lessons and connect with these students as well. There are flexible modules assigned to students to complete either independently or in the use of facilitated group setting, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in just a minute. There's educator resources as well. So there's helpful lesson plans, there's discussion questions, and activities are included with each course module. So CCISD has already paid for these videos for our staff and our students, so we're not asking for extra funding here. There are a variety of topics covered by these videos. Each video lasts between 7 to 10 minutes long with a short assessment at the end of each video. And assessment scores can also be sent to CCISD administration just to ensure what if content was acquired by the students who were watching those videos. Okay, so what videos will be shown? So the first topic is bullying and cyberbullying. So in 6th through 8th grade, there are 6 videos or 6 courses to watch. In 9th through 12th, there's also 6 courses or 6 videos. These are the topics: cyberbullying, how to be an upstander against bullying, the importance of doing something about bullying, understanding bullying, what does bullying look like, and why should you care about bullying. The next topic is alcohol and drug use. So for 6 through 8, there are 5 courses or 5 videos. Alcohol and drug use for 9 through 12, there are 5 courses. These are the topics: alcohol and drug use, how alcohol affects the brain, how drugs and vaping affects the brain, social pressure and substance abuse, and what you can do to avoid substance abuse. And then the last topic that we would like to present today is digital citizenship. For 6th through 8th grade, there's 4 courses, 9th through 12, 4 courses. These are the topics: how to be an aware and positive contributor online, respecting yourself and others online, what is digital citizenship, and why should you care about digital citizenship. So how will we use these videos? I know that's a lot of the questions. When will we show these videos to the kids? So the great thing about this is we have several different avenues that we can actually push these videos out to our children. Number one, they can be shown during our PE classes, and I have already been in conversation with Ms. Amy Bull. She is our PE and health specialist, and she has approved of this delivery method. Counselors can even present them in the classrooms during their guidance lessons. Students can watch them in ISS class, give them something to do, while they're in there. They can look at these informational videos and learn some tools. And also, videos can be assigned individually to students, and they will be completed on their own time. So the modality that is chosen really is up to the school. What will best fit their time, whatever they have, the time available for these classes, for these videos. And so that is it. That is all I have about these Safe School videos. So any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
So are we trying to get all kids eventually to watch them? Or is it just, it's an availability to use?
This is an availability, and I really think it is up to the schools. I think it'd be wonderful if we could get every student to, participate and watch these videos. Something for us to think about what we want that to look like when we decide to actually push this out, if you do vote this forward.
Okay, my other question is the 9 through 12, it's the same videos?
Yes, ma'am.
So if they're a senior watching or a freshman watching, they're watching the same
All the same information, yes, ma'am.
You try to use it year to year, and I know this because our safe schools are the same every year, and it's okay. That's part of training. Everybody, but it'll be the same every year if they try to use them every year, or is it?
That's a good question. I don't know if they do change the videos up with Vector Solutions. That's a question we could ask, but if they are the same videos year after year, reiterating this content, how can we, we can get, I feel like you can't get enough of this information, but that would definitely be a question that we could ask Vector Solutions if they do change the videos up.
Because I can just see them like deja vuing, like, didn't I see this last year? So, and the quizzes they can do, you said individually?
Yes, ma'am, or they can do as a class. Perhaps the guidance counselors that they're teaching, okay, guys, we watched the video together, now let's try to answer these questions together as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
And I think the idea and the approval, I think that to me that's easy. Is there a group of the target audience, the target students for these videos that help just choose and rate and decide which ones are most effective at reaching them?
We can. So as I mentioned, we can target our ISS students. We can also look and work with Ms. Delma Bernal as well and see where are those infractions with the most drug infractions, the schools, and maybe really target those schools as well, target those students. This is just so new right now. That's a great idea for us to do, but I would love for every student to see these videos, but if we do need to target, we could.
Yeah, I just kind of, because if I watch, again, it all looks great to me, but I don't know which one's most effective, and I was just thinking, asking the student that we're trying to reach if they thought it was effective, maybe helpful. So
yeah, those are definite conversations to have.
Well, and I can tell you, Ms. Markert, that the library of resources for students is very large. I know that our initial focus is, everything's important, but, drugs, vaping, some of those very serious ones, we're definitely wanting to reach the masses. We do know that we have specialized campuses where students who commit an infraction and have to go to are looking for additional resources for students when they're there so that they can have something different. Their whether Vector Solutions changes them up every year. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to make an assumption. We'll ask, but I'm going to make an assumption, maybe not, maybe buy or try annually or every 3 years, because of what we see. But that's something that we can look into. But I know there's a lot of videos out there. And so we were not trying to inundate our campuses and our students with so many videos. And quite frankly, we needed to be able to watch them and vet them to make sure that they were good. As Ms. Prier had pointed out on the other videos for Sandy Hook, you watch it for age appropriateness. And so that's what we were going through and just identifying those that we really thought could hit home. But there is a library, so potentially as we're able to just use this as a resource for our students, then I think that maybe we can help control some of the variety and variation year over year, so students don't feel like they're watching the exact same thing. I mean, to some extent, that is important to hear, right? There are just some basic messages that are the same no matter what, but if we can help change it up a little bit through the video, then, we'll look at that.
Making our toolbox bigger.
Yes, exactly. Yes, ma'am.
I know we have public comment on a couple of our presentations that we've already had, and so
thank you so much.
I'll go over there. We have Linda Snyder about Sandy Hook Promise.
Hi, my name is Linda Snyder. I have a home in Corpus Christi. I have a adult child that's in his 30s, so we're past this part of his life, but I'm still a concerned citizen, and I represent a lot of different groups. I'm representing myself here, but I'm also part of League of Women Voters. I'm an active member of the Social Action. I'm the Social Action Chair of the Congregation Beth Israel Synagogue, and a lot of other organizations I won't go into. So one of the things I was going to compliment Courtney on is I spoke with her 2 weeks ago because I saw this I saw this program online, and I immediately saw the possibilities. Let me back up. I'm a retired social worker, so I immediately do networking. I immediately think of 1,000 different ways anything can be used that would help children, particularly against violence. But the thing that caught my eye immediately was, and I'm sure it's music to your ears, no cost, free. What can you get, the best training, and it seems like it also includes a lot of different categories that you do already do, but it segues so beautifully with what you're already doing. And I know myself that to really learn something, it doesn't hurt to have it said more than once in different ways. It reinforces it. So it's not a waste to go over something more than once. I won't go into as much detail as I thought I would have to because Courtney did do such a wonderful job. The Know the Signs program has been already in, I'm talking about nationally, 23,000 schools and organizations nationwide, 18 million participants, Know the Signs training, 4,000 youth clubs in 49 states, 171,000 tips anonymously reported violence and bullying. And this program reflects the values of race, equity, diversity, and inclusion. In addition to the program materials that was already mentioned, the resource material, again free, they have YouTube videos, social media kits, press releases, public service announcements. So all of these things are to help what I know are always a big job for educators, to identify the risk behaviors, to intervene and get help before a tragedy happens. That's the aim for all of this, is before it happens. And the Students Against Violence Everywhere Club, a youth club that promotes kindness, inclusiveness, the value of looking out for one another cannot be emphasized enough. Telling a trusted adult, when I understand, having been in corrections, having been in Child Protective Services, having been in a lot of different categories in my own personal training and profession, finding a trusted adult is not as easy as just looking to your parents, and it's not even easy to just ask anybody or speak out. So this lesson of teaching somebody how to empathize with others and how to ask for help and creating a more inclusive, connected school culture.
Your 3 minutes is up.
That's fine.
Thank you so much.
Please consider this program a one-stop shopping.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, did you want to speak now? Hi, Ms. Fuller.
Good morning, SHAC members and ISD administrators. Many of you remember me. My name is Shauna Fuller. There are 2 things I'd like to mention this morning. The first is I want to commend the district for the incredible organization on the SHAC webpage. You make it easy for parents and community members to view when the meetings are held and what is being considered. Thank you for providing as much direct access to materials as permitted by law and for making it clear who to reach out to in the district if a reviewer has further questions. Your efforts are noticed and they are very appreciated. The second item I would like to mention this morning is regarding Sandy Hook Promise and their programs. There are a few noteworthy items about the program on their home webpage. In the green Where To box under the heading Our Advocacy, it reads through our sister organization, Sandy Hook Promise Action Fund, writing and championing common sense policy to prevent gun violence and support mental wellness. What is the Sandy Hook Promise Action Fund and how is it connected to the Sandy Hook Promise Save Promise Clubs for Schools? Well, the Sandy Hook Promise Action Fund and the Sandy Hook Promise are components of the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation. In their 2021 tax return, the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation describes the relationship. It reads, Sandy Hook Promise Foundation's evidence-informed Know the Signs programs are delivered to schools at no cost and teach youth and adults how to prevent shootings, violence, and other harmful acts that impact children. That's very important. On page 52 of the tax return, it says the Sandy Hook Promise Action Fund works at the state and federal level to pass legislation that advances school safety, mental health, and gun violence prevention through bipartisan partnerships, diverse grassroots education, and community mobilization. The only nonpartisan organization of its kind, the Action Fund writes, introduces, and influences federal and state legislation with bipartisan support. Now, what does this have to do with the club that you're considering today? The Sandy Hook Action Fund is the political activism arm of the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation. I think that's important for you to know because on page 50 of the same return, over $6 million was transferred from the foundation to the Action Fund for lobbying efforts. I was unable to clearly identify in the tax return the origin of the $25 million of contributions and grants the foundation received that year. Where did those contributions come from? Are student clubs fundraising and sending monies to the foundation? That's to be determined. There's a lot of positivity in this program, but there doesn't seem to be much concrete plan yet for CCISD to utilize it, and the fundraising aspect should be seriously considered as you consider this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller. And I have a couple of other public comments, but they don't appear to be on anything that has been presented so far.
Okay, thank you so much. So these are action items. There were 4 that we heard today. So we are going to go through the process for voting. So as always, I need a motion to approve the program. I'll tell you which program or curriculum that we're doing. I need a motion, a second, and then we can vote, or we can have any discussion you want to, and then we can vote, okay? All right, so we're going to start with the Naviance curriculum that Susie Thomas, the not Zoom, the Teams that we did. So do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mark, okay.
I'll second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion before we vote? Okay, so we'll go ahead and vote. It's yay, nay, or abstention, and I'll call by name. So Michelle Marker, yay. Mark Schauer.
Yay.
Anne Marie is absent. Dwayne Hargis.
Yay.
Leela is absent. Dr. Baggerman. Yay. Dr. Woods had to leave. Julie Dye.
Yay.
Lisa McKenna.
Yay.
Aaron Pryor.
Yay.
George Lerma.
Yay.
Okay, so motion passes for Naviance to be considered. I know it has to go through. We're just saying, sounds good. Okay. All right. Sandy Hook Promise is next. Motion?
Motion for approval.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. All right, any discussion? Okay, then we'll move to vote. Sandy Hook Promise, moving to approve well, y'all know what I mean, all right. Michelle Markert, yay. Mark Schauer.
Yay.
Dwayne Hargis.
Yay.
Dr. Baggerman. Julie Dye.
Yay.
Lisa McKenna.
Yay.
Aaron Pryor.
Yay.
George Lerma.
Yay.
All right, motion passes. And I'm sure everyone wants, like on all of them, find out what happens with the board and all.
You will.
Okay. The Council on Drug and Alcohol, which was the presentation on opioids that they would come with Armando Trevino. Okay? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mark. Motion. Second? Thank you, Dr. Baggerman. Any discussion? All right, so to vote. Michelle Marker, yay. Mark Schauer?
Yay.
Dwayne Hargis?
Yay.
Dr. Baggerman? Julie Dye?
Yay.
Lisa McKenna? Aaron Pryor?
Yay.
And George Lerma?
Yay.
Motion passes. All right, one last one. This is on the Safe School videos, drugs, vaping, and alcohol for students, clarifying.
Yeah.
Not for teachers, for students, that will be used and put into that toolbox. So, motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Julie. Anybody second? Second, thank you. Any discussion? We kind of had a lot of discussion during, so just in case. All right, on to the vote. For the Safe School videos, drugs, vaping, and alcohol for students, Michelle Marker, yay. Mark Schauer.
Yay.
Dwayne Hargis.
Yay.
Dr. Baggerman. Dr. Oh, not here. Julie Dye.
Yay.
Lisa McKenna.
Yay.
Aaron Pryor.
Yay.
And George Lerma.
Yay.
Motion passes. Okay, got the paperwork done. Here we go. We do have some, are we gonna, we gotta continue, right? Yeah.
Yes, so we do have 2 items that will require presentation to SHAC with 2 public comment periods because they fall under 1525 or Senate Bill 9. And so both of these today will be their first presentation and opportunity for public comment.
Okay. All right, so they'll have presentation, we'll have public comment, and then we'll have another public comment at our next meeting. Okay. So I'd like to welcome, Amy, are you gonna introduce or do you want me to do it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I get to do it. So this is Christy Rutledge from Heritage Keepers. It's her first time presentation on this material.
Thank you, SHAC members, and good afternoon, CCISD. It's good to be here. It's been a while since I've been before the SHAC. Thank you for welcoming me to introduce to you our curriculum updates. We are currently teaching in the district. In fact, right now we're at Caffey Middle School. Some of you, this is your first introduction to Heritage Keepers, and I hope that you've gotten a copy of the new workbook. We did have some major improvements to the curriculum I'll present to you. So, is this my clicker? Let's see how I work this. It's a sexual risk avoidance curriculum. We teach the students how to avoid risk also associated with drug, alcohol use, tobacco, and I think you'll see that in this presentation, how that works out. Let's see, how do I do this? Right, thank you. Thank you. Is that right here? I don't see a down arrow. If you click right here. This one. Yeah. Thank you. All right. This is, thank you so much. All right, here we go. This is our impact in the district. We have been funded by the U.S. Health and Human Services through a pass-through grant through the State Health Department. $1.9 million has been brought to the district for Heritage Keepers at no cost to Corpus Christi ISD. So we think that's a tremendous benefit. This is an older presentation. This is not the one that I updated this morning.
Right, and we had already loaded it, and so we went with the one that was provided to us.
Okay, is it okay then? I just updated this last night. Because I just learned a couple days ago that I'd be presenting today, no problem. We've actually taught 10,022 students, counting in our Caffey Middle School students. We are scheduled at all middle schools. We've taught at 6 so far this year, and our count is actually 1,118 students right now. We're scheduled before the end of the school year to teach at the remaining 4 middle schools. And these are just notes from our students, and I have a couple of extras in my printout that I'll share with you. We tried to share one from each school so that you could get an overview. This is from a coach, and he is saying that as a father himself, he's really thankful to see that this is a necessity to teach the students. He appreciates it, and he's also really thankful not to have to teach it. And he congratulates our teacher and says, keep leading from the front. So we think that's a really good bit of feedback. This is a student from Atkins Middle School that says this student really liked the class. I don't know if this is a male or female. They loved being encouraged to abstain, being reaffirmed in that behavior choice, that risk avoidance, and they want to learn more, and they've decided that they will wait. We think this is a really important piece of feedback because this is a behavioral commitment, an intention, which is a very strong indicator of effectiveness. This is another one from Atkins Middle School, and I'll move right through some of these. They like the class, they like the teacher, and they intend to practice, or they learn the importance of practicing abstinence and avoiding risk of sexual behavior. Again, peer pressure is addressed, and the students talking about that. And they are talking about learning in the curriculum that they've learned how to say no to peer pressure, which is really important to have that skill. And they want more students to take this class. Again, Atkins Middle School, they thought the class was fun. So I think that's good feedback to hear from the students and appreciate having the class. One more from Atkins. This is, again, the older presentation. This student is saying that I'll never do drugs after taking our class, because we have re-emphasized the importance of avoiding associated risk behaviors, such as drug and alcohol use. And they will not get forced to do something. So they're going to, the student has learned in our class how to resist negative relationships, hurtful, harmful relationships. There's a Sex is Like Fire demonstration or lesson, and the students learn then some of the harmful aspects, consequences that can happen with sex, including abuse, early pregnancy, STDs, emotional harm, and so the student is really connecting with that. And they're connecting the fact that this could affect themselves, their future partner, their future spouse. So throughout the curriculum, the students are trained to look to their future. What do they want? What kind of family formation do they want? What kind of hopes and dreams and goals do they want? And they have to first develop that before they know the reasons why any of this is important to them. So we think that this note says that they really connected with that. It's not moving, there we go. Haas Middle School. Again, the student thinks that it's great that to learn the good and the bad aspects, that sex can bring new life, and that's a good thing. But also early, you could have some unwanted consequences. Curriculum updates. There's one that is not included in here. I think there's a link on the website, but I'll tell you about it. I do want to add one note from Baker Middle School that I had in my other presentation that's not up here. Really fun note from a student that says, "Dear Heritage Keepers, you're so goated," because I really like the teacher and the class. And that means greatest of all time. So I take that as a really big compliment. They really, really enjoyed the class. And the student goes on to say, "I will continue to abstain." So through taking the class, hopefully, the supportive network among her peers was increased, and she felt affirmed. So that was really good note to have. Another student from Cunningham Middle School said that I learned sometimes you get to say no to things like drugs, drinking, and tobacco, and this class taught me to firmly say no when I'm getting pressured to do something that I don't want to do. So we think those are really, really important skills for the kids to be really well versed in and have self-efficacy with. All right. This is let me go back. So the changes in the curriculum revolve around that you are asked to approve or review, revolve around a slight change in wording in the first section, changing the word from recommit to commit, because everyone can commit to abstinence. So that was just for clarification and consistency. Pages 3 and 4 of the new workbook. An updated DVD on the preview of a birth video, and this really just the content, the photographs are basically the same, but the children and the families that are presented in this are a little more current or recent, okay? So that's an important update. The most important changes in the curriculum are to section 2.3 in the Sex is Like Fire, where we add a really strong presentation on sexting and how sexting, when including certain types of photographs, can be distribution and reception of child pornography. Students are really impacted by this information, and it's really necessary to strengthen that because of some of their behaviors on social media that they're really not aware of until the educator first reaches the classroom and has the chance to explain. They're not aware of the risks, they're not aware of what they're doing, they don't understand the definition. So we add some really clear definition there. So that's, I believe that's on page 20. Also, relationship violence, so this would be dating violence in your Senate Bill 9 requirement, child sexual abuse, coercion, force, sexual harassment, and rape. Again, defining those clearly early on in the curriculum just reinforces The SAFE plan, which is state your boundaries, avoid danger, firmly say no, and exit. That's at the end, and that's where we build the skills with the students to go out and implement whatever values they've chosen, whatever boundaries they've chosen, but they then understand what the definitions of these things are and the harmful aspects of them. And then a major upgrade to the curriculum is adding an entire lesson on sex trafficking. We think this is also really important considering what's going on. And we have, so we're really looking forward to this getting approved and being able to present this to students because it's important right now. So the very last update to the curriculum is in the marriage section, and this really just updates research and categorizes certain things in the cohabitation section. Another major update to the curriculum is all the photos have been replaced with newer updated photos, more relevant, and so we think this is really important. So any questions I'd love to answer on that portion, because that's really what you all are asked to approve, and then I'd be happy to present the actual curriculum for any of you who haven't heard of it before, but it's approved and we're in the district, we're teaching it. Another added component we have is service learning. So in my other presentation, I had a few photos of that. That's outside of the district and it's optional for students. We've been having a really good time with that. And we have a lot of flexibility to incorporate some things if the district chooses or if a campus chooses to do that. Any questions on the curriculum updates? Have you all had a chance to review? So you have it there, Michelle? Since that's really what we're here to talk about. Yeah.
I had a question about the cohabitation
Yes.
part. If that, there are students that we have
Sure.
who that's their life. That's who
Correct.
how their family looks. And I was wondering how that would be presented so that they don't feel like their family is wrong.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm asking? Like, 'cause they don't have a traditional marriage, it might be a cohabitation. So.
It's a super important question and one we take very seriously because we recognize that we're teaching students across the spectrum, right? And we all come from different backgrounds. In the very first presentation, the first day, we discussed that in the classroom, the students are looking to their heritage. That's the whole point of the curriculum. What do they want, right? And that we all come from different families and that all families are important. We all got here through a biological mom and a biological dad, right? They are very clear all along that they're looking for their goals. And so that's how we deal with it. If that makes sense. We also don't allow the students to share, and we don't share like personal experiences because, again, we're looking for goal setting and recognizing risk, consequences, and skills to avoid risk. That makes sense. Any other questions?
You had mentioned the birth video was updated. Can you define, what you mean by it was updated?
Yeah, and when the video starts, it's sort of in the middle. It's National Geographic type photos or images, sonogram images, actually images of a sperm fertilizing an egg, things like that. But there's children in the beginning of the video, and the actual children have been updated. The content of the video in the middle has not been changed. It's virtually the same. And I think at the end, the children and adults have been updated, meaning they don't look like they're from 1975 or 80, right? If that makes sense. They look a little bit more modern, right?
Can I say something about the video? When I saw that preview of a birth video, I think of birth as the actual
Right.
coming to
So do
life
the kids.
part, and not a 12-minute video of most of it's 90% of it's in utero development,
Correct.
and how the egg and the sperm and how they grow and how the mom changes, and so it's birth was not what that was kind of a different, more of like in utero development, I think is what the video is about. But anyway,
The students have the same idea,
Right.
And they're waiting for that, and we're like, sorry, no.
No,
But actually, they really connect with the video. They had no idea, and I would say all students connect with this video. I think it's pretty cool. What else? One other important update that we have is just an additional resource, which is, I can't show it here because my slideshow isn't here, but I'll make it available to you. It's just a poster. Basically, I can read it to you about sexual abuse. If someone has touched you in a way that's not okay or has shown you something that made you feel unsafe, you don't have to keep it a secret. It's not okay for anyone to touch you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, even if they are older or in charge, and it's not right and it's not your fault. So this is just an additional resource to what we've already been doing on this subject. It gives them information about the National Sexual Assault Hotline. And so we're really strong in that area of encouraging students to come forward and get help if they've experienced abuse, to not feel like it's their fault, to understand that they can always choose to abstinence, so that's really just an important update, an additional resource. But another thing I want to add is in our Sex is Like Fire updates, we're very strong in the new updates about you don't have a right to be an abuser. Like, accepting abuse is never okay. It's never your fault. It's never okay. You don't have to put up with it, get help, but you don't have the right to be an abuser. To cyberbully with sexting, texting, to fourscores, things like this. Important things to add to the curriculum. So we're really happy about that. And we think that it fulfills most of your Senate Bill 9 requirements, dating violence, for sure. And anyway, any other questions?
I can tell you that I've been working with Ms. Rutledge very closely since since Dr. Woods left in about October, right? And we have been in close conversation and setting up this new process of opting in and obtaining consents and ensuring we're very much communicating. We have parent informational nights ahead of time, well early into the consent for opt-in process, so parents feel like they're making an informed decision. These aren't things we're required to do. These are things that we're doing because we feel the information in the presentation is very important for students. It ties in with our curriculum that PE coaches are, that it falls within theirs, and PE coaches aren't necessarily comfortable talking about some of these things that Heritage Keepers presenters come in and talk about. The feedback from the campus coaches has been very supportive and positive, and then Ms. Rutledge shared with what the students' feedback was. And we are requiring this of all middle schools. So all middle schools are required PE classes to receive this information. So as we're expanding to make sure that we can provide access moving forward in the next years to high school students, which is also relevant to them as well. And I just want to thank Ms. Rutledge and her team. She had to expand our team because we became so demanding, which she was very happy to do. And I said, no, we want access to all of our students in our district and middle school to receive this information. And her and her foundation, the grant that funds it, was able to make it happen.
Right. And we do look forward to going back to high schools. I didn't mention it here. We've taught at 15 campuses in the 7 years, and we had a pretty long break because the district was redoing the SHAC. I appreciate all of your professionalism. I was so glad to be patient with you as you went through that process because I knew the value of that, and I appreciate opt-in very much. I want you to understand that parents are opting in and students are able to make it happen. And the informed consent with the parents is super important. If they don't agree, then they just don't have to sign their kids in. but they're agreeing, and the parents are calling and they're asking for more information. We do have a parent workbook, so I take that very important, and it's not something I'm required to do, but parents are our students' most valuable resources, and they want to know how to help their kids. And we have those resources available, and I'm willing to meet with them, after hours or whenever they need. We've had a really good parental involvement. Baker Middle School had 15 parents. Just want to say that this didn't happen before opt-in. And I presented 45 minutes, my normal parent presentation that I've been doing for years, but then they gave me an hour's worth of questions. And I was so glad. And at the end, we all cheered for the parents and thanked them for being involved and really caring about their students and asking the questions. Kathy had 9 middle school parents, and Martin had about 3 or 4 that wanted to meet several times with me. And then Adkins had another 6 or 8, and 2 parents that met with me during the program. Throughout the program, as it becomes more popular with the students and they're hearing what the other students are learning, they're asking to opt in, even after we've started, because they want to hear what their peers are learning, right? They're interested. So anyway, thank you so much. Any other questions? Any time? All right, thank you.
Do you have one, Ms.
No,
Dyer?
I noticed on that very first slide, and I know you said it was not updated, but it looked like Haas and Martin both had like double digits, like 69 students, 52, whereas Baker had 400. And I just wonder, is that the coaches that are sending the form out and they're just not kind of encouraging the kids to bring it back?
I'm so happy to give you this feedback. We're learning, all of us, how to do opt-in. And Haas was the first school. And we said, here you go, let's do it. And they were so willing because we have a great relationship with most of the coaches we've known for years, right? So Coach Menenzor invited us in. She was ready to do it. The principal was ready to do it. And it was just learning how to get it rolled out. I think the more popular it becomes, and of course, the better it's presented from the coach, the more opt-in that you have. So Baker Middle School really brought the students out. We had 369, which was quite a number. It's not because, it's because the coaches are very enthusiastic, yes, but they're also sending reminders from the principal. So we've learned different things to do. But Martin, we felt like we had pretty good turnout since we've never been to that campus before. So 52 is a great start at Martin. And the students were really learning, right? And participating in our service learning as well. So, which this year we're doing beach cleanups near the Lexington, and we go to the aquarium for students that opt in. So we buy their ticket, we teach them how to care for their natural heritage. So through the curriculum, it's caring for your family heritage, what you want for your family heritage, and then how to care for your natural heritage. I especially appreciate introducing them to the Aqua Teen job training program and some good relationships I have there at the aquarium.
And what grade level in middle school are they doing? It's not all grade levels. Is it a specific?
It is all.
It's all
middle
grade
school
levels?
6 through 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All
our
grade
PE
levels.
students. So it's our PE students.
So not the ones that choose the athletics, but they'll get it in 6 because
Well,
there's
6th
some,
and 7th grade students have to go to PE. So we're starting in their 8th grade. It is the students who are in PE.
They're in PE. Okay,
So
that's what I
that's
was
as we
wondering.
continue, we'll be, as the students move through,
Right.
they would, our 6th and 7th graders next year, even when they're 8th graders, if they're not in it, they would have received it this year.
I'll say to answer
If
your
they opted in, obviously, right, if they opted in.
Answer your question a little more, the reason Baker had more students is because they included their athletes. So we actually taught periods 1 through 8 there, which was a really full day. But we're glad to do it. All right. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Our next presentation is Dating Matters Curriculum, Dating Violence, the first time presentation.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you so much. So once again, my name is Dr. Maria Iescas. I am the coordinator for mental health services here at CCISD, and I will be presenting on Dating Matters, and this is a teen dating violence curriculum. So what is it? So it is a free youth program that provides middle school students ages 11 to 14 with the knowledge and skills they need to have healthy, safe relationships before they start dating. So let's look at some of the research that we have here. So research shows that supporting healthy emotional development can prevent a variety of negative outcomes, including teen dating violence. Research also shows that healthy relationship attitudes and behaviors start developing early. So here is some data from the 2019 CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey. So from that time, about 1 in 12 U.S. high school students experienced physical dating violence, and 1 in 12 U.S. high school students experienced sexual dating violence as well. A little bit more information from this survey and also the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey indicated that nearly 1 in 11 female teens and 1 in 14 male high school students reported having experienced physical dating violence in that last year. About 1 in 8 females and 1 in 26 male high school students reported having experienced sexual dating violence in that last year. And 26% of women and 15% of men who were victims of contact sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime first experienced these or other form of violence by that partner before the age of 18. So a little bit about Dating Matters. So the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, so the CDC, Dating Matters was designed for local health departments with access to schools, community partners, state and local government, and other public health resources. The youth and parent programs in Dating Matters were developed from the existing evidence on what actually works to prevent teen dating violence. CDC also adapted and created new evidence-informed strategies to address gaps in the existing programming that they had. Dating Matters includes 7 primary components that work together to reinforce protective factors and to reduce risk factors for teen dating violence across the social ecology. So we'll look at these factors in the individual lives of our students, in relationships, and also in the communities that they live in. These components also focus on preventing dating violence and promoting healthy relationships across the lifespan. So there will be an opt-in policy for this. So students must opt in to these class presentations with parental consent. Parents will also be well aware of the curriculum that will be taught to the students, and they will have access to this curriculum as well. And parent informational sessions will also be held at each school before the curriculum is actually taught to the students. So here are the skills covered in the 6th grade curriculum that we have. So all of these programs, all of these classes, they're designed to be delivered by teachers, prevention educators, or social workers, mental health professionals. So for the 6th grade, there's 7 sessions. Focuses on healthy relationships with friends, family, or in the context of dating. Teaches social and emotional skills such as identifying emotions, coping with feelings. Promotes and builds healthy relationship skills such as communication, conflict resolution. You'll see a lot about what does active listening look like, how to use I statements as well. And discusses ways to help and support friends who are in unhealthy relationships right now. For the 7th grade curriculum, once again, taught by teachers, prevention educators, or social workers, mental health professionals. For 7th grade, there are 7 sessions. Reviews and builds on skills taught in the 6th grade program. Increases focus on dating relationships and sexual violence, and addresses social norms about substance abuse. So what's great about this curriculum as well, they can actually be extended beyond what we're looking at our 6th and 7th graders. So these programs can be taught at upper levels as well, so our 8th, our 9th, and our 10th. The curriculum is very broad, the topics are broad, and also it impacts this student population as well. There is training for those who will be presenting this curriculum to our students. Dating Matters, the Understanding Teen Dating Violence Prevention Training for Educators is a free 1-hour online training that helps educators understand the risk factors and warning signs of teen dating violence, as well as their role in promoting healthy relationships. The training uses illustrations, exercises, information, all from experts. And the CDC suggests that all educators who are implementing this program, they should get trained. There is a parent program that goes along with this curriculum. So the Dating Matters parent program provides parents of 6th and 7th graders with skills that encourage positive interactions and communication with their children. The skills parents learn in these programs will help them to talk to their kids about healthy, safe relationships. So, Parents Matter for 6th grade. So there are 6 group sessions. I know that seems like a lot. This can be tailored to the school's needs. So whether it's one informational session or that school decides, yes, let's have a couple of sessions for our parents, that is up to the school. So it's adapted from an existing evidence-based program, Parents Matter, to address dating violence, promotes positive parenting, effective parent-child communication on healthy relationship development and also sexual health. It supports parents in sharing their values and influencing their teens' decisions about dating and sexual behavior. Same thing for 7th grade as well. There are 3 group sessions, or once again, can be tailored to whatever that campus decides to work that works for them. And there's also 3 in-home self-directed activities that allow parents to practice skills learned in the group setting with their children. It supports parents in positive parenting skills, open and effective communication, appropriate supervision, and also conflict resolution. So, proven results. Does this work? So from 2011 to 2016, the CDC conducted a demonstration project of Dating Matters in Baltimore, Chicago, Oakland, and Fort Lauderdale. The CDC examined the feasibility, the sustainability, the effectiveness, and the cost of this program for preventing teen violence in these 4 communities. So the results. CDC found that during middle school, students in schools offering Dating Matters reported lower levels of teen dating violence perpetration and victimization, and lower levels of negative conflict resolution strategies than students in comparison schools who did not participate in the Dating Matters curriculum. Some more results. Middle schoolers who participated in this program reported lower levels of all of these. So lower levels of bullying perpetration, cyberbullying perpetration and victimization for females only, physical violence perpetration, weapon carrying, alcohol and substance use, delinquency, sexual violence perpetration and sexual violence victimization for females only, and sexual harassment within and outside of dating relationships. So how will this be delivered? Lessons will be delivered by mental health professionals or social workers who are highly skilled, licensed mental health professionals during PE classes, and will be added into the scope and sequence of lessons that already exist in PE. And once again, I did talk with Ms. Amy Bull, who is our specialist for PE and health, and she has agreed to this how we will deliver these lessons. And lessons can also be chosen to respond to the needs of each school as well. So a lesson overview talks about the purpose of the sessions. There's key messages, materials needed, and then the session overview. And if you looked, one of the examples I was looking at was 6th grade understanding feelings. And it always starts with a question of the day, an icebreaker game. For example, on a piece of paper, write down as many feelings as you can think of. Part 2 is review and session introduction. So they will review what was done in session 1 and introduce that we're going to talk about emotions and feelings. Part 3 are mini activity. They will get out their scraps of paper that they wrote those feelings on and share them with the class and make a list. Then we have, let me get this. We have part 4, identifying feelings in ourselves. So they'll introduce the next session by asking students to think about a situation that made them feel angry. And then they will share those situations with the students in the class. Part 5, introduce the concept of body language. So once again, we're seeing language, listening, those clues to identify how others are feeling, and then they'll play a charades game with feelings. Part 6, they'll introduce experience multiple feelings and talk about that the teacher will then read some short scenarios to the students. And then after you listen to the scenario, the students will put a check mark next to the feelings that best responded how they would feel in that situation. And then part 7, wrap up. We have, just saying feelings are complicated. It's hard, it's not black and white, it's gray. And then they'll ask the students what they learned today, anything that they could take away. And here are my references. So, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Senate Bill 9 and House Bill 1525 has these requirements that
Yes, ma'am.
schools have to educate. Is dating violence a topic that itself, dating
Yes.
violence,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
something that has to
Has to be addressed, yes,
So there's
ma'am.
nothing else that we've been shown thus far in the year that addresses that need?
Not specific to just dating
Right,
violence.
we approved a one-time presentation that some of our campuses received, a one-time 45-minute, 60-minute presentation on dating violence, but we don't have a said curriculum.
So does
And so this would enhance, so I'm not saying it, like PE has some mention in topics of it, but this would go, it would be led by our mental health and counselors, and so it goes a little bit deeper.
Does House Bill 5025 and Senate Bill 9 say that 6th and 7th grade? To me, that seems really young, but I know that it's before 18. I understand that.
It is. It doesn't get specific, but if we feel that this is too young, which is something that the board here, the committee here can decide, it can be used in other grades as well, 8th, 9th, and 10th. I don't know if you read the curriculum, you can see that it's easily transferable to those other grades as well. Very pertinent information.
And I do think it is in there, and it starts being introduced as healthy relationships, but healthy relationships, like anything about dating violence or child abuse, no matter, because even child abuse, we don't call it child abuse starting in 2nd grade, but we do, talk about, appropriate touch, and use of hands and, adult-child relationships, but it would fall under child abuse. So I do believe, and we have the TEKS posted online for SHAC for y'all's resources as well, but I do believe it does start in middle school grade that would cover this, but I'll double check.
I think the 6th, 7th grade is appropriate. You can take out the word dating violence and just hanging out together violence, and so it starts then.
And it goes just beyond dating. It looks at other relationships, friendships. What is healthy? What is healthy communication? What are healthy actions to expect from a loved one or a friend as well?
Because that's really when those type of interactions are going on, whether it's, you're not jumping in a car together and going to a movie, but that's when it has to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to ask, so the curriculum updates we just saw for Heritage Keepers, that also had a Senate Bill 9 component and also does cover healthy relationships. Would that be sufficient to meet that requirement without this additional curriculum?
Well, it depends. How I see it from my view is that we're going to be able to hit more students, impact and teach more students. We're going to have our social workers, our counselors on board with this as well. So we'll be able to actually get in front of more kids and help, like a team, a teammate working with Heritage Keepers as well. And, Heritage Keepers also has different topics as well that they cover, sexual health, sexual abuse, human trafficking. This is 100% just on our teen dating violence.
And the Heritage Keepers, Ms. Rutledge, I know you're still here. We schedule 12 days, but it's a 10 to 12 day time frame because sometimes due to questions and discussion, it slows down. So we allow up to 12 days for a campus. And I don't know how many of those days would cover the relationship portion. Okay. You could come up.
If you approve the curriculum updates, I think we might need more time to cover everything, just maybe like 13 days, because that sex trafficking is a whole new lesson, right? And there's enhanced lessons on force, coercion, all those things that could be encompassed in the Senate Bill 9, rape, those things. So I think that those inclusions or additions to the curriculum update are going to add time. And so my experience is that, especially with opt-in, 10 days is really not possible to finish the curriculum sufficiently. Because the students are going to PE, they're getting their attendance taken there, and then those that have opted in are moving to our class. So we're already shaving off about 10 minutes or so. So yeah, 12 days minimum, but maybe more with the curriculum enhancement. Just.
Could you work with your team on I know you haven't delivered the new curriculum, at least here, maybe
Right.
in other districts you have. Right. So maybe provide us an update on the number of days.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just, I already know because
okay.
With the curriculum, that without the updates, without that inclusion on sex trafficking and enhancements on, violence, other crimes involving sexual activity, 12 days is really pushing it, right? Just because of the time's already shaved off of the class period, with the time to get over to wherever we're teaching from at the facility. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because this is 7 sessions, and then if we do Heritage Keepers, that's another potentially 12 sessions. That's a lot of time. And these are very similar things. So if we could address them at one time, to me, that makes a lot more sense. So I was also wondering, could we take only the parent component of this and not take the rest of it? Because that's an option to
yes.
provide more parent education.
And, we could do that, but, we don't have to use all 7 of the sessions either. Schools can tailor this to maybe we want to talk about communication today. We want to talk about what a healthy relationship looks like. So they can tailor it to what the needs that they are seeing in their school at that time.
Right, and the parent component doesn't have to come through for SHAC approval. That's something that we can already provide and build in. It's just part of our parent trainings that we offer throughout the year.
Other questions? All right. Oh, yes, ma'am.
One thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So, because it's opt-in,
Yes, ma'am.
Heritage Keepers is opt-in, they could not opt into one, but they might opt into another.
That's a great
And I
point.
know that happens with other things, right? They might go, well, I don't want this, but that sounds good. So I think sometimes having those choices is very good for parents and for families who maybe this is something very specific that has happened in their realm, and that's something they want. I don't know.
No, that's a wonderful point. It really is. We want to hit as many students as we can to impact and to have them hear this information as we can. So.
Yeah. And I like that you can do the older grades, because I know that being in the older grades, that could be something that would be useful. I'd probably like to see more about the 8, 9, and 10. If 6 and 7 or even 8 is kind of taken care of with Heritage Keepers, if they're doing that, well, let's look at, okay, well then how can we even help more? Because we do have kids that take PE, right?
Yes.
But we have a lot of kids that don't take PE because they're in a sport, they're doing athletics, and so we don't hit everyone. We don't have health class anymore, they do that in PE. So any way we could get information out appropriately, and with a appropriate person, social work,
Yes, ma'am.
mental health, not asking me to do it would be great. Sorry. Well, it's a lot.
It
It's
is.
just a lot, but someone who's professional and could do, they know what they're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
I do the biology part. I can do that, the whole egg and sperm. I got you,
Yes, we
but-
can handle, the mental health part of it, and any of those questions that might come up during, those tough to answer questions. Our mental health specialists, they're prepared, they're trained specifically to answer those questions and to provide resources for students as well, guidance.
Kids ask me questions. I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I'm a teacher of science, but I can tell you the science, but I don't know if I can,
Yes.
yeah. Good job.
Questions? Okay, well, thank y'all so much for listening to me. I appreciate it.
We do have 4 public comments. First, Ms. Mariah Boone. She's here.
Hello, my name is Mariah Boone. My 2 daughters both graduated from CCISD. I am a social worker and an educator in the Coastal Bend. I would like to speak in support of the Dating Matters curriculum that was presented. I'm really excited about this opportunity being available for our students. I think so many students need more information and support to be safe, and a curriculum like this could really help them both be safe now while they're teens, and it also gives them information, I think, that will help keep them safe throughout the lifespan. As a social worker, I have worked with so many agencies, where youth are in these unhealthy relationships, and also later where mothers and adult mothers are still in these unhealthy relationships. So I think this is a wonderful thing for our students. I'd also like to mention that before it was opt-in, my daughter was subjected to the Heritage Keepers curriculum at Baker Middle School. I found it to be full of a great deal of stigma and stereotyping for certain family structures and a lot of gender stereotypes. And if I had the opportunity to opt in nowadays, I would not opt her into that, but I would opt her into the dating violence curriculum, which I think sounds like a wonderful opportunity for our students. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Roxana Bell.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Roxana Bell. I live here in Corpus. I did teach in San Antonio. I taught public school there. I am currently an early childhood educator now, seeing the issues in the older grades. Was wondering, okay, maybe I could contribute to the foundational development of our children. In listening to, I'm here to advocate for the Heritage Keepers in listening to her curriculum. I appreciate the method and the message of that curriculum in providing definitions and awareness and informing students. In listening to all the other presentations on alcohol and drug abuse and healthy living and what have you, all of those bullet points and components that were given in those presentations, I feel very strongly that are provided in the Heritage Keepers is informing our students, our children. I am a mother and a grandmother, and I appreciate the information that it provides for the students to be able to make healthy decisions for themselves. A lot of these, the heart awareness and everything else, have the same goals in mind when presenting their curriculum. So for this most important aspect of our health and being, I feel that, I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. It encourages a healthy lifestyle. It's a holistic and supportive approach, informed decisions, it provides awareness, and it's realistic in helping them to make a commitment and to look forward to their future. We heard a presentation about college and career. We want those healthy choices for our children, and we want them to know and to be aware of how to make those healthy and long-lasting, life-affecting decisions. And so I'm here in support of Heritage Keepers. Thank you.
Eric Larson.
Well, I'm here to basically introduce my wife, but let me just tell you one thing right off the bat, that I met her in September 1952 in first grade, so I've known her quite a while. You don't know me, but we've been married 53 and a half years. I tried to judge it there. She's a mother and a grandmother, and as you can tell by my shirt I proudly wear, I'm not retired, I'm a grandpa, so I'm here to represent that. Pat has a bachelor's degree and master's in psychology from A&I and from CCSU, for those of you who go back that far. She's a retired licensed psychologist, psychological associate. She worked for Nueces County Daycare, an adult care worker, 1969, I remember that. She was a New York welfare worker. After the Vietnam War, we tried to go back there and it didn't work. We loved Corpus Christi. We came back and we've been here continuously since then. She has been Director of Crisis Intervention and Rape Crisis Center in Corpus Christi, and she has 24 years with the Nueces County Juvenile Probation Officer, retired. And she has a lot of hands-on experience with a lot of the disadvantaged and low-income people that you're talking about. I got to hear it almost every night at the table. And she was dedicated, she was loving, and she's the greatest grandma I know. Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Patricia Larson.
Good afternoon. I'm not a public speaker, but so if you'll bear with me. But I have some questions about the Dating Matters program. I've delved into it quite a bit. I've spent 2 days looking beyond the surface of what the presentation gives you. So I would encourage you to do that yourself. I'd like to point out that Dating Matters is a CDC Center Control program. The program is for 11 to 14-year-olds with preteen reasoning abilities with different maturation levels and experiences. My question is, how do you talk dating and sexual activity given this scenario? Why should you be talking about this? Is this the job of the school? Will you be talking about abstinence? Why should 11-year-olds be thinking about dating? Maybe this program will put this activity into their thought process. Sounds like fun when you're 11, 12 years old. The word dating indicates some kind of relationship. What kind of relationship are they going to be exposed to in this program? Relationships, dating, sex, and violence? All this seems like it might be too late for some and too much for others. How do you label this group? This program is designed for low-income, high-crime areas. Where are you going to put these children? How are they going to be labeled? This program is just another label on our children. This program calls for parent involvement. We all know this is very important. How are you going to get this parent involvement? The program talks about social norms. Whose social norms will be used? The parents, the leaders, or the hood? Let's talk money. How do you finance and staff the program? Pay attention to the capacity assessment and planning tool of the Dating Matters model. It talks about staffing, resources, sustainability, skills, expertise. It involves outside resources and partnerships, tracking students for the health department and the CDC, that it includes ongoing training acknowledged by the CDC. One program to educate trainers is a minimum of $1,795 for 2 days for one leader. Others get 1 hour of training online with a DVD showing. Who are the people who we train? The program calls for teen students leading in the I2I program. When are they available? Please consider this when you're making decisions about what program. You have good programs already. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, I think that concludes our public comments time. Do we have any closing comments, Ms. Arizmendi? I know we're way over.
I don't think so. I mean, I think we've had some robust conversations today.
I think so. Okay. Well, then if there's no other comments from the SHAC, this meeting is officially adjourned at 12:07. Thank you.